Chapter 481. Even though those cultivators were also humans, when they saw that Elder Phone was relying on the body of Indra's mother, White Tiger, they actually attacked Indra in an extremely despicable and shameless manner. Furthermore, he didn't even put up any defense around his body. He just flapped his wings and directly rushed towards the Emperor condensed from the power of wrath in the sky. He looked as if he was saying, "Hit me, kill me, I'll just stand here and let you kill me. I'll let you hit me as long as you can bear to do it. As long as you don't care that this body belongs to your mother, I'll just stand here and let you kill me." Elder Fang's arrogant behavior made the surrounding cultivators exclaim in admiration in their hearts. How shameless. Shameless? I'm that shameless. What can you do about it? Elder Phone looked excitedly at the Emperor that was thousands of feet tall. Its aura alone was enough to freeze the air and suffocate heaven and earth. He thought proudly, as long as I can win, so what if I'm a little shameless? As long as I win and he dies, humph, who would dare to say anything about me? Let's see if he dares to destroy his mother's body. Elder Phone firmly grasped this point. He grasped the fact that the body he was occupying was Di Shirtian's mother's body. From what he saw earlier, it was very likely that the Demon King in front of him was here for the White Tiger. As a son, he definitely wouldn't dare to lay his hands on his mother's body. Instead, he would have to give in to Elder Phone. I'm already in an invincible position, Elder Phone thought and laughed wildly in his heart. It was as if he could already see the terrifying Demon King in front of him being torn to pieces by his claws. No matter what, occupying the body of the White Tiger meant that he was standing at the peak of victory. Victory was certain. Elder Phone seemed to have seen the dawn of victory. Rumble. In the incomparably huge hurricane, there were countless scarlet gold wind blades. Everything that was swept into the hurricane was instantly turned into dust by the countless sharp wind blades. The wind followed the tiger, and the clouds followed the dragon. The tiger tribe had a natural advantage in controlling the wind, let alone the divine beast of the tiger tribe, the White Tiger. The White Tiger suppressed the west, which was of the metal element and specialized in killing. Even the wind blades in the hurricane were scarlet gold in color and were tougher and sharper. It wasn't inferior to any divine weapon. His speed was as fast as lightning as he appeared in front of the Emperor in an instant. A jade seal that was sparkling and translucent like jade came crashing down in anger, completely annihilating the hurricane in an instant. It collapsed into nothingness. The hurricane couldn't even get close to him. Roar! With a thought, Elder Phone rushed over like a bolt of lightning with the momentum of the wind. He extended his tiger claw and swung it at the Emperor's arm. This attack pushed the speed of the White Tiger to its limits. Wind was formless and unpredictable, and its speed was extremely fast. In the blink of an eye, it appeared beside the Emperor. The Emperor's eyes burned with rage. Even though he had the Imperial Jade Seal in his hand, he could easily injure the White Tiger with a casual strike. It wouldn't be difficult for him to smash the White Tiger into a pulp. However, he saw the familiar figure of the White Tiger. He had no choice but to dodge to the side in grief and indignation. However, how could his 1,000-foot-long body be faster than the White Tiger when he dodged? A sharp claw mark streaked across the air and landed on his arm, tearing off more than half of his arm. Fight back. Come and hit me. Come and hit me if you have the guts. I'm standing right here. Hit me. Come and hit me. Elder Phone completely unleashed the speed of the White Tiger. He turned into a whirlwind and circled around the Emperor in the air. Once he found an opening, he would immediately launch a ferocious attack. Di Shirtian was helpless. That body belonged to his mother. He didn't dare to use the Imperial Jade Seal to suppress her. If he did, his physical body would be smashed into a pulp. He could only dodge continuously. Unfortunately, Elder Phone didn't show any mercy and attacked him directly with his physical body. The Emperor in the air was in a sorry state. How dare you take over my mother's body? No matter who you are, you're finished. You're completely finished. If I don't extract your soul and torture you for thousands of years, how can I get rid of the pain and hatred in my heart? Di Shirtian's eyes were about to spit fire. He was screaming in his heart. A dragon had a reverse scale. Anyone who touched it would die. And now, Elder Feng, who had taken over the white tiger's body, had completely touched his reverse scale. And he wouldn't stop until he was dead. His heart was filled with hatred, and it felt like it was being cut by a knife. Mother, mother! His heart was dripping blood. He couldn't help but think back to his brief life. Although the white tiger back then wasn't very intelligent, she had poured all of her motherly love into them. What seemed like a simple life actually contained the most precious thing in his life, and now was being blasphemed. Di Shirtian's killing intent had never been stronger than it was. His mother had been possessed, and she was dead. Despicable, shameless villain. Crazy Emperor, this despicable villain who took over your mother's body can't be allowed to live. I'm going to suppress him in 19 layers of infernal penitentiary and make him suffer all sorts of tortures. I can sense another nascent divinity in the white tiger's body, but it's sealed. That nascent divinity has been sealed. It's definitely because your mother's nascent divinity hasn't been completely wiped out. Extract this despicable villain's divine soul, and your mother can recover and control this body. When Dark saw Elder Feng's despicable behavior in Infernal Penitentiary, it was thoroughly enraged. Even it couldn't stand it anymore. In Infernal Penitentiary, it roared crazily, "Divine Eye of Heavenly Punishment. Use the Divine Eye of Heavenly Punishment to take him out of your mother's body." The Divine Eye of Heavenly Punishment was one of Di Shirtian's most powerful trump cards. Although its origin was unknown, it was so powerful that it was worthy of being called a Divine Eye. It was so powerful that it could make one's hair stand on end. Back in the Tower of Babel, it could even forcibly extract the divine soul of Venerable Apotheon Ascendant Penitentiary and suppress it. Wherever the divine light went, even the divine soul in the body could be extracted on the spot. It could be taken away. With a sweep of the divine light, even one's cultivation base would be wiped out. It could see through illusions and see through yin and yang. All these abilities were gathered in this divine eye. It could be said to be a terrifying divine ability that defied the heavens. At this moment, only the divine eye of heavenly punishment could take Elder Feng out of the white tiger's body. Bam! And at this moment, in the sky above the Thousand Beast sect, Old Feng used his thick skin to display a terrifying destructive power. Finally, he sent out hundreds of hurricanes and crushed the emperor that was condensed from the power of wrath into dust. What made Sakura feel the most sullen and angry was that he didn't even dare to use self-destruction at the last moment for fear of harming the body of the white tiger. His mother was not dead, but sealed in the body. After hearing Dark's roar, Di Shirtian's eyes flashed with a shocking light. Endless ecstasy surged in his mind, accompanied by anger that spiraled in his body. He didn't know whether to laugh wildly or roar angrily. This unexpected news completely woke him up. In despair, a ray of hope bloomed in front of him. Great! On the 7 peaks, when the disciples of the Thousand Beast sect saw that the terrible emperor was torn to pieces by Elder Feng's claws, they immediately burst into thunderous cheers. There was a blazing radiance in their eyes as they revealed an expectant look. Obviously, they wanted to see him continue to tear Sakura into pieces. "You deserve to die." Sakura coldly looked at Elder Feng, who was cheering complacently. The divine light in his eyes could even freeze the air. "Green Phoenix Swordsman." "Yes, sir." The 60,000 Green Phoenix swordsmen respectfully replied at the same time. "The formation has been broken. It is time for you to take revenge. Kill, kill, kill. This king wants the Thousand Beasts sect to be bathed in blood. Leave no one alive. Kill, kill them all for this king." Di Shirtian coldly ordered the Green Phoenix swordsman behind him. His voice was filled with a strong smell of blood. His killing intent surged and filled the entire sky. "Yes, king." Qing Xia's face was filled with a strong, heroic spirit. She revealed a decisive expression and waved her hand, shouting, "Kill. Leave no one alive." After saying that, he took the lead and pounced towards the 7 mountain peaks. Instantly, 60,000 green wand swordsmen held sharp feather swords in their hands and rushed out. Behind them, millions of demonic beasts and demonic birds responded to Sakura's command like tidewater and rushed up the 7 mountain peaks like toppling mountains and overturning seas. The sword servants of the Azure Phoenix all had the ability to transform and condense an inner core, which was equivalent to the nascent soul stage in the immortal cultivation world. The demonic clan was naturally more powerful than the immortal cultivators of the same level. Behind them were millions of demonic beasts and demonic beasts. In an instant, a bloody light burst forth, and killing intent filled the entire sky like a tide. The clouds in the sky had unknowingly turned blood red under the stimulation of the killing intent. The Thousand Beast Sect foundation was quite deep. They had close to 6,000 to 7,000 nascent soul stage cultivators. There were even higher level cultivators. In an instant, they were entangled together, and the sound of killing shook the sky. Elder Feng, who was originally extremely excited, was so angry that his eyes turned green. Looking at Dishurtian, he roared and was about to pounce. With his current body, he was not afraid of death. His attitude was saying, "Do you dare to hit me?" Extremely infuriating. Oomph. The destruction of the Thousand Beasts sect begins with you. Dishurtian saw, and his eyes flashed with anger. He snorted coldly. On the purple mark between his eyebrows, rays of purple light shot out and flashed on the purple mark like flowing water. Within the purple light, the purple mark was constantly opening. It was like a real eye. Whoosh! A ray of purple light shot out. In the purple light, the heavenly punishment divine eye between his eyebrows opened instantly. In the eye, a purple eye emitted a cold light and stared ahead. The moment the divine eye opened, a terrifying, majestic aura spread wildly in all directions. The vast pressure shook the heavens and earth. It was like the supreme being of heaven and earth, looking down on all living things. The heavenly punishment divine light shot out from the divine eye and directly covered the white tiger that was pouncing towards him. The vast divine aura caused the surrounding space to freeze and shake. "What are you doing? Don't you know that my current body is your mother's? Are you going to kill your mother?" Elder Feng, who had relied on his special status to beat up the powerful Demon King until he didn't even dare to fight back, now had a look of fear in his eyes. The moment the divine eye opened, he felt a terrifying pressure on his body, and an incomparably strong sense of danger was beating wildly in his heart. He hurriedly roared loudly. "It's the beginning of the month, brothers. Those who still have a guaranteed monthly vote, vote for the 1,000 goblins. Passion. I want some passion and motivation. Subscribe, recommend, all of it. The climax is here. To be continued. If you want to know what will happen next, please go to www.chijian.com to read more chapters. Support the author. Support the legal reading. Chapter 482. He was betting that Dishurtian would not dare to hurt the white tiger or kill its mother. It was because he saw through this point that he dared to challenge the emperor that was condensed from the power of wrath without the slightest scruple. It was because he saw that Indra had feelings in his heart. Those who had feelings, as long as they targeted the people they cared about, that would be a flaw, and they would be able to suppress them to death. And those who had no feelings and no sense of justice, that was the hardest to deal with. If it was Dishurtian who didn't have any feelings in his heart and was completely selfish, how would Elder Feng dare to be so unbridled and arrogant like before? He would have long hidden in a corner with his tail between his legs, afraid of being seen. The power of wrath of the emperor was too overbearing and terrifying. Under the power of the imperial jade seal, there was simply no power that could resist it. Even the great formation of the sect was easily smashed into pieces. Although Elder Feng's primordial spirit was in the immortal realm and had taken over the white tiger's body, he was not completely familiar with this body. He did not even have the time to completely destroy the primordial spirit of the white tiger. It was not that he did not want to, but it was not difficult to seal the primordial spirit. However, if he wanted to destroy it, he would need a lot of time to do so. After all, this was the white tiger's body in the sea of consciousness. If the white tiger self-destructed, he would be in trouble. Otherwise, he would not have just sealed it. He would have killed it directly. Now, he could exert the strength of the immortal realm. His actual combat strength was probably at the peak of the tribulation stage. He was originally full of confidence that nothing would happen to him as long as he had this body. He could do anything. However, he did not expect Tion to really dare to make a move. This time he panicked. Looking at the eye that suddenly opened, a look of fear flashed in his eyes. From that divine eye, he felt an incomparably strong threat, causing his heart to beat violently. He quickly shouted to remind him that he was killing his mother. Divine eye of punishment, deprive. Tian's heart turned cold as he roared in his heart. The heavenly punishment, divine light, instantly enveloped Senior Feng. Within the divine light, a vast pressure completely bound Senior Feng. He couldn't even move. With a soft shout, a mysterious power was released from the divine light and entered the white tiger's body. How can this be? My soul is actually trying to leave this body. No, I'm already the owner of this body. How can you target my soul? In an instant, Elder Feng felt his divine soul tremble violently. A mysterious force wrapped around his divine soul and pulled it out continuously. It was trying to take him out of this body. This kind of divine ability that worked on the divine soul was extremely rare. He didn't dare to believe that he would encounter it. This was too frightening. He had already fused with this body, no longer able to distinguish between the two. How could he be stripped away? That was impossible. Mind fixation pearl. As Elder Feng screamed, he still felt his divine soul being pulled out of his body. If this continued, his entire divine soul would be pulled out of this body in an instant. If his divine soul was taken away, he didn't dare to imagine what kind of scene it would be. At this critical moment, he roared. Suddenly, a snow-white pearl the size of a thumb appeared in his divine soul. This pearl was the mind fixation pearl that he called it. As soon as the mind fixation pearl appeared, it emitted a ray of clear light that fell on the divine soul. Immediately, the divine soul that was being pulled out of the body stopped strangely. No matter how strong the pulling force was, it didn't move at all. It was extremely tough and didn't move at all. It was as still as a mountain. The mind fixation pearl was a unique treasure. It was said that it was formed naturally from the 10,000-year snow soul. It had the miraculous effect of stabilizing one's divine soul and was ranked among the top unique treasures. Such a pearl was extremely rare. It was said that there were no more than 10 mind fixation pearls in the entire continent. It was extremely precious. It could stabilize one's divine soul and block most attacks on the divine soul. Even those high and mighty ancient giants wanted to obtain it. With it, almost all attacks on the divine soul could be blocked. Such a treasure was more precious than ordinary treasures. The mind fixation pearl was so miraculous that it could even block the divine light of heaven's punishment and block that strong pulling force. The mind fixation pearl. He has the mind fixation pearl. This is a treasure that even ancient giants and venerables want. He, a mere ascendant realm cultivator, also has it. No wonder the divine light of heaven's punishment couldn't forcibly take away his primordial spirit. Ming's eyes almost popped out of their sockets. Obviously, he knew what kind of treasure the mind fixation pearl was. No matter what it was, a treasure that could affect one's divine soul was far more precious than other treasures. The mind fixation pearl could block most divine soul attacks. It could even block the divine light of heaven's punishment. Mind fixation pearl? At this moment, Sakura's mind was calm and his mind was incomparably clear. Thinking quickly, his eyes flickered with the radiance of wisdom as he shouted coldly. Even if it's the spirit fixation pearl, it's merely a treasure. Do you really think it can block the divine light of heaven's punishment? Ming immediately crushed the essence of the savage beasts collected in the infernal prison and absorbed their divine soul power, leaving only their divine soul origin. Throw it into the purple pool in the 19th abyss, and turn them into jailers. No matter what price I have to pay, I want to see the divine light of heaven's punishment evolve. No matter how powerful the mind fixation pearl was, it was just a treasure. Although a treasure was powerful, it also depended on who the owner was. Tion was very confident in the divine light of heaven's punishment. Its various magical powers were not inferior to any heaven-defying magical powers, and it could be continuously upgraded. Now, it was just the beginning, the weakest moment. Blocked by the mind fixation pearl, he didn't panic at all. Instead, he became calmer. The angrier he was, the calmer he became. He sneered inwardly. A mere mind fixation pearl can block the current divine light of heaven's punishment, but what about after it evolves? Now, there was only one thought in his mind, and that was to strip that despicable man from his mother's body at all costs. Ha ha! Crazy D, you finally calmed down. Good. No matter what, you can't let anger get to your head. Instead, you have to be calmer. Only by being calm can you recognize more things and fully exert your fighting strength. Good, it's time for the divine light of heaven's punishment to evolve. Ming laughed with satisfaction. Last time, I planned to use a wisp of Venerable Feng Shun's divine sense as a tonic for the infernal prison to absorb, but unfortunately, it was used on the divine light. This time, I'll do whatever it takes to upgrade the divine light of heaven's punishment. Let's see how powerful the divine light of heaven's punishment can become after it evolves. Jailers, listen up. Crush the savage beast's essence. Each of the 19 nether prisons was only 1,000 feet wide. However, they had been completely stabilized. They were extremely sturdy and difficult to destroy. Inside, a large number of jailers in purple armor with cold eyes were holding all kinds of torture instruments to torture a large number of souls. There were tens of thousands of jailers on each level. There were even more essence souls of savage beasts, more than 1 million of them. They were extremely strong, and for the infernal prison, they were the best fat sheep. The jailers moved quickly, crushing the essence souls of savage beasts into powder, which turned into countless wisps of divine soul power and spread out. These wisps of divine soul power were quickly absorbed by the infernal prison. 1 or 2 essence souls of savage beasts might not have any effect on the whole infernal prison, but thousands, tens of thousands, 100,000, 1 million of them. The combined divine soul power was simply earth-shattering. It was so huge that it could instantly turn an ordinary person into a mighty immortal or Buddha. Ming's heart ached when he saw the essence souls being crushed. Not only could the infernal prison evolve by absorbing the divine soul power, but it could also absorb the power of fear. The fear produced in the infernal prison would also become the infernal prison's power. Under the punishment, all of the souls here became fearful, and the power of fear they exuded was something that would last for a long time. It was much more worth it compared to the complete destruction of this place. Rumble. However, although he was in pain, he did not stop it. A large number of souls of savage beasts had been scattered, leaving only a little mark of origin, which could not be easily destroyed. These were all collected by the jailers, and when they were sent to the purple pool, new jailers would be born. The infernal prison was already on the verge of upgrading, so this huge amount of divine soul power was constantly being poured into it. Suddenly, a shocking change occurred. The space of each level, which was only 1,000 feet wide, suddenly shook violently. At the edge, large patches of infernal prison were being born at a speed visible to the naked eye. The infernal prison was expanding. It was expanding at an astonishing speed. Boom, boom, boom. Amidst the rumbling, the entire infernal prison expanded violently. In the blink of an eye, each level had expanded from 1,000 feet to 1,000 feet. The levels of the infernal prison were clearly divided, and it became more and more gloomy. The jailers patrolled back and forth in an extremely strict manner. However, after the infernal prison expanded to 1,000 feet, it did not continue to expand. Instead, it absorbed a large amount of divine soul power to consolidate its expansion. At the same time, a terrible devouring force suddenly emerged from the infernal prison. It devoured all the divine soul power that filled each level of the infernal prison in one fell swoop. Rumble. The infernal prison shook, and a long river suddenly appeared in the infernal prison. The water in the river was green. It was a strange kind of green water. A large number of green bubbles rose from the water. Huang Quan green water. This is the Huang Quan River. Di Shirtian's mind had been focused on the changes in the infernal prison, so he naturally saw everything. When he saw the sudden appearance of the long river, he could not help but feel surprised. It was not the first time he had seen the Huang Quan River. When he was in the heavenly demon secret realm, he had seen the endless Huang Quan holy river with his own eyes. He did not expect that there would be one in his infernal prison. This Huang Quan River ran from the first level all the way to the 19th level, connecting all 19 levels of infernal prison. Even a goose feather could not be caught in the river. To be continued. If you want to know what happens next, please go to www.chidian.com to read more chapters. Support the author. Support the original reading. Chapter 483. Amazing. It's amazing. This heavenly punishment divine, he really didn't know where that group of old bastards got it from. Just whose eye could have such an inconceivable and miraculous power? Huang Quan. It's really Huang Quan's clear water. What are those old farts planning? They imprison me here so that I can open up the infernal prison. But this Huang Quan can't be refined at all. There is one in the underworld, which can be cut into two parts. One of them was obtained by the demon clan, and now it is suppressed in the heavenly demon secret realm. There is no third one. In the divine eye, it can give birth to a Huang Quan river. What on earth is this? Dark roared loudly. Its slender dragon body was entrenched in the infernal prison. The shock in its heart had reached an extreme. It was not an ignorant creature. It had existed since the ancient times, so it knew countless secrets of the world. Perhaps others would think that although the Huang Quan River was a holy river in the underworld, it might not be the only one. There should be other Huang Quan holy rivers. However, it knew that it was impossible. Since the birth of the world, there was only one Huang Quan holy river in the land of origin, and it was the only one that was born in the underworld. Other than that, there were no other new Huang Quan holy rivers in the world. Even the boundless Huang Quan in the heavenly demon secret realm could tell at a glance that it was one half of the Huang Quan that had been cut into two. The other half was in the underworld. Therefore, to be honest, there was only one Huang Quan holy river in the world. Even if there were other holy rivers in other places, they were all branches derived from this Huang Quan. Overall, they were still connected. But in front of it, it saw with its own eyes that a new Huang Quan holy river was born in the divine eye of the underworld. Although this Huang Quan was a new river, it was only 20 to 20 feet wide. Even its length only passed through 19 layers of hell and couldn't be compared to any other Huang Quan. They were in an extremely weak state. However, this was an independent Huang Quan. It was different from the Huang Quan in the underworld. It was the second Huang Quan holy river in the universe. From the moment it was born, it had infinite possibilities. All of this caused Ming to be flabbergasted, and he cried out loudly in an arrogant manner. It was even more difficult for him to figure out the true objective of those old bastards who'd imprisoned him here. A trap. There must be a terrifying big picture. In other words, it was also a chess piece. But what kind of trap was this? Who set it up? Who were they targeting? Thinking about it, Ming couldn't help but feel like he was going crazy. It could already feel that there was a big picture looming over its head. However, it couldn't find any clues. Forget it. That bunch of old farts. One day, I'll settle this debt with you. Hee. Although I don't know what your plan is, Lunatic D is definitely an accident in your plan. Even the river of fate can't grasp his fate. His roots, his past life, no one can find out who he is, whose reincarnation he is. Underworld muttered to itself. Suddenly, it let out a strange laugh. Who was it? It was an artifact soul that followed a peerless expert and intimidated all living things in the ancient era. If it was an ordinary person, How could it possibly wholeheartedly assist him like this? Back then, at first glance, it discovered that it was actually unable to see through Indra's background. It had to be known that it followed the ancient emperor of the underworld. The emperor of the underworld had a divine ability called the reincarnation eye. It was extremely powerful and could see through the past lives of living beings at a glance. It could detect its foundation. It could understand its origin. It was extremely magical. Unless it was a peerless expert, even a venerable couldn't escape the range of the reincarnation eye. However, it couldn't see through Shurtian's past and present lives. All it could see was a mysterious fault. The reincarnation of his past life was strangely distorted, as if everything had been erased. It was as if he had never been reincarnated at all. When it looked at his present life, it was even stranger. What it could see in front of him was a kind of chaos. It was a kind of strange, chaotic color, and no information could be seen from it. It could be said that his fate was immediately unfathomable by the way of heaven. It was full of infinite variables and impossible to predict. With variables, there would be countless opportunities. Therefore, Ming recognized Shurtian at first sight and had been assisting him wholeheartedly until now. Huang Quan, not to mention Dark, when he saw the underworld jade water that ran through the underworld prison, the shock in Sakura's heart was no less than that of Dark. The description of the underworld appeared in his mind. Huang Quan River, also known as Huang Quan's Purgatory River. Huang Quan's Holy River. As long as any creature fell into the river, its body would instantly corrode, and its divine soul would fall into the river forever. It would suffer endless torment and pain in Huang Quan's Holy River. No matter how powerful you were, you couldn't escape the fate of never being reincarnated. Moreover, you couldn't fly on the river. You couldn't even float on a goose feather. The clear water in the river was also known as the weak water. The essence of it could be condensed into the water of forgetfulness. Mengpatang. It could be said to be the most magical holy river in the world. Huang Quan's holy river had just been born, but at the moment of its birth, Shurtian clearly felt that a magical power emerged from his eyes of heaven's punishment in an instant. This power emerged from Huang Quan's holy river and gathered in an instant, forming a mysterious restriction in the eyes of heaven's punishment. At the moment when the restriction was formed, the eyes of heaven's punishment also sublimated and transformed at the same time. The divine light of heaven's punishment, which had been shooting out, instantly retracted back into the eyes. All the divine light was restrained in an instant. He closed his eyes and closed them. All of his imposing aura was also withdrawn. That vast and majestic aura also disappeared without a trace. There was still a purple mark between his eyebrows. My goodness, the innate divine restriction. It's actually an innate divine restriction formed by Huang Quan's power. What on earth is this, Sai? It can evolve into an innate divine restriction. That's an innate divine restriction that only innate spirit treasures can have. One innate divine restriction is enough to make it step into the boundary of innate spirit treasures. This eyes of heaven's punishment is actually comparable to an innate spirit treasure. Ming was shocked again. This time he was frightened. It was an innate divine restriction. An innate divine restriction. It was not some bullsh asterisk T restriction. It was born and evolved from the innate. One had to know that there were countless restrictions in the world. However, the innate divine restriction, the supreme restriction among the restrictions, was not something that could be bestowed by anyone. It was something that was born from the primal chaos and was naturally born. This kind of innate divine restriction was something that not even a peerless expert could bestow. But no matter what kind of weapon it was, once it had an innate divine restriction, it would be an innate spirit treasure. Innate spirit treasures were divided into 3 grades: high, middle, and low. Among them, low-grade innate spirit treasures only had one innate divine restriction, and each additional innate divine restriction would increase its grade. Once there were 3 innate divine restrictions, it would be a high-grade innate spirit treasure for innate spirit treasures and 5 innate cardinal treasures. 9 was the limit. Among cardinal treasures, once there were 9 innate divine restrictions, it would be the top cardinal treasures. Such cardinal treasures had incredible power, and no one had ever heard of them being owned by anyone. Tian's eyes of heaven's punishment had given birth to an innate divine restriction. What did this mean? It meant that this divine eye was comparable to an innate spirit treasure. After Ming explained it, Sakura came to an understanding. Only now did he know what sort of inconceivable benefits he'd obtained, and he couldn't help but be overjoyed in his heart. At the same time, he felt that a large amount of information was crazily pouring into his mind from the divine eye, and he quickly absorbed it. After absorbing it, Tian was amazed by the power of the eyes of heaven's punishment. After the divine eye evolved, the heavenly punishment divine eye gained a new ability, annihilation. The eyes of heaven's punishment could be said to be heaven-defying, and its power was immeasurable. They were soul capture. It could forcibly take the divine soul out of the body and imprison it in the divine eye's infernal prison. This ability could be said to ignore any target. Illusion breaker. It could see through all illusions such as fog, enchantments, restrictions, and illusions. Nothing could stop the divine eye's prying. It could see through everything, and even the information stored in jade slips could be clearly seen. It was extremely mysterious. The boundary between yin and yang was like nothingness. It could see through the yin and yang realms. It was like a fiery golden essence. There was nowhere to hide. Divine punishment. When the divine light brushed past, one's cultivation would be instantly reduced. Moreover, it was not only the cultivation in the body that was reduced, but also the cultivation of the Tao and one's understanding of the realm. If one wanted to recover, it would not be easy. One would have to cultivate again. This was the legendary heaven locking gate, falling to the mortal world. Annihilation. It was an ability obtained from Huang Quan's power after the formation of the innate divine restriction. This kind of annihilation annihilated the physical body. When the divine light brushed past, the physical body would collapse and turn into dust. It would be completely annihilated. The physical body was equally important to any expert. If the physical body was destroyed, it would be almost impossible to climb to the peak again. It was extremely difficult. Itinerant immortals were like this. It was because they lost their physical body that they had to go through 9 heavenly tribulations. Each tribulation was heavier than the previous one. Each of the 4 abilities was extremely terrifying and heaven-defying. All of them were gathered in the divine punishment eye. One could imagine how powerful the divine punishment eye was. You can't do anything to me. You want to take my divine soul? Dream on. Do you dare to hurt my physical body? The divine punishment eye disappeared, and the pressure on Elder Feng's body was instantly relieved. Although he was a little shocked, he could not help but calm down when he thought of the mind fixation pearl on his body. He immediately thought that Di Qing did not have the ability to do anything to him. He could not help but clamor again. However, his body was continuously retreating. He quickly retreated toward Li Qing, the itinerant immortal. He was really a little scared. If you want to know what happened next, please go to www.chidian.com. There are more chapters. I support the author. I support the original reading. Chapter 484. Boom, boom, boom. Tian's slightly closed eyes suddenly opened. Suddenly, the void in front of him trembled violently, as if it could not withstand the strong pressure. He stared coldly at Elder Feng and said, "Humph, do you really think you can stop me with a mere mind fixation pearl? If I say I want you to die, you will definitely die. If I say I want to take away your divine soul, I will definitely take it away." His domineering and powerful voice resounded through the sky. He hated this guy who had taken over his mother's body to the core. How could he allow him to escape? The divine eye of heavenly punishment, which had been closed, opened once again. A beam of purple divine light that was even denser than before instantly shot out from the eye. It was silent and did not even touch space. It directly broke through space and instantly landed on Elder Feng. Divine eye of heaven's punishment. Soul absorption. He used the soul absorption again. This time, the divine eye of heaven's punishment had evolved. In an instant, the power of the divine eye of heaven's punishment had increased by more than 10 times. The power of the divine eye of heaven's punishment had become even stronger. If he had not evolved, he would have had a chance to take away the divine souls of immortal realm and earth immortals. However, he would not have been able to break through the power of the composed pearl. Now, the divine eye of heaven's punishment could even take away the divine souls of heaven immortals and celestial kings and drag them into the infernal prison. It was extremely powerful. Of course, if he really used it to that extent, the consumption of his own body would be unimaginable. When it landed on Elder Phone felt that the composed pearl on his body suddenly trembled violently. It was as if it had been attacked countless times in an instant. Poof! With a soft sound, the miraculous mind fixation pearl was no match for the power of the divine eye. The clear light that came from the pearl was instantly extinguished, and the divine light on the surface of the mind fixation pearl became extremely dim. Although the composed pearl was magical, how could it block the divine eye of heaven's punishment that had given birth to an innate divine restriction? He was severely injured on the spot. Without the protection of the composed pearl, the soul absorption power of the divine eye of heaven's punishment instantly enveloped Elder Fang's divine soul completely. Elder Fang had no control over the situation at all. His spirit was being pulled out of his body uncontrollably. Elder Fang's soul was slowly being pulled out of the white tiger's body. Judging from his expression, he was still struggling in pain. Looking at the loose, immortal Li Qing, he begged for help in horror. "Uncle Master Li, please save me." How terrifying! This star of slaughter is too terrifying. Even my divine soul could be directly extracted. Li Qing had long seen all of this. After seeing Di Shitian's various inconceivable methods, the fear in his heart had reached an incomparable height. The more it was like this, the stronger the killing intent in his heart became. No, we can't let him continue to grow. He's already so terrifying now. If we wait another 2 years, he might grow to an even more terrifying level in the future. He had to be killed. He definitely couldn't given the chance to grow. They were mortal enemies. He stole his mother's body. This kind of enmity can't be erased unless one side is annihilated. The more he thought about it, the more the killing intent in Li Qing's heart soared. A dark green jade ruler appeared in his hand. On the surface of the ruler, there were countless mysterious engravings that emitted bursts of green light. Once the ruler appeared, a powerful aura was emitted from the ruler. On the ruler's body, there were countless arcs of green lightning flickering like flowing water. Inside the ruler's body, there were streaks of lightning. That was the pressure emitted by the divine thunder. "Demon, you dare to hurt my 1,000-beast sex disciple. Die for me." Li Qing waved his long sleeves, and a vigorous aura appeared on his body. The aura of a second tribulation, loose, immortal, suddenly burst out completely. Under the contrast of this aura, his body constantly grew taller, and his power was awe-inspiring. With a wave of his hand, the green ruler in his hand instantly flew up. With a flash of the wind in the air, it rapidly grew bigger and became a few dozen feet in size. Then, it smashed towards Sakura's head by a foot. At the same time, the green light on the ruler burst out. Rumble. Thunderous booms resounded. Countless green thunderbolts, as thick as buckets, circled around the green ruler and fell like raindrops. In an instant, the area within a radius of 1,000 feet turned into a world of thunderbolts. Each thunderbolt contained a vast amount of power. Even an earthly immortal would not be able to withstand the thunderbolts. His body would suffer great damage if he was hit by one of these thunderbolts. Rumble, rumble, rumble. Li Qing saw it very clearly. The heaven's punishment divine light that was released by Sakura could even detain the divine soul in the body. His other treasure was the Mystic Beast Treasure Archive. The mystic beasts inside were all demonic beasts, demonic souls after they died. If these demonic souls were released, and all of them were absorbed by that divine light, Wouldn't he die an unjust death? Rumble. 10,000 bolts of lightning struck. Instantly, it resounded through the sky. Tion only raised his head and glanced above him. He quickly activated the divine light. A powerful force wrapped around Elder Phone and pulled him into the divine eye. No! Elder Phone let out a blood-curdling scream. Unfortunately, he couldn't stop it. In the blink of an eye, he fell into the nether prison in the divine eye. A second tribulation, loose celestial? Humph. Even if you are an immortal today, this king will still beat you down to the mortal world. Tion roared. He glanced at the tens of thousands of lightning bolts that were whizzing down from above and ignored them. He directly sat down on the soaring sky, throne below him. As soon as he sat down, a dense emperor's aura immediately enveloped the entire area. It was as if he was the heavens. He was the ruler of this world. The lightning came crashing down, but before it could get close to Tion, a golden light rose up from the throne, blocking the lightning like a canopy or a giant umbrella. All the lightning bolts were blocked when they landed on it, only leaving ripples on it. The soaring sky throne didn't even tremble. At this moment, Tion, who had advanced from the heavenly punishment divine eye, was boundless and unstoppable. He had used countless precious treasures to refine the cloud-reaching throne. There were as many restrictions as there were stars in the sky. The throne was the symbol of the emperor. Even the divine lightning couldn't fall. Mother, Tion carefully sent White Tiger into the heavenly punishment divine eye. When the battle was over, he would think of a way to wake her primordial spirit. Gu Yuanshun, where's my younger brother? Tion roared at Gu Yuanshun, who was already filled with fear. He had found his mother, but there was still no sign of his younger brother. Even the bloodline connection couldn't be found here. There were only two possibilities. Either he wasn't here at all, or he was already... The killing intent in his heart was like a hurricane. His cold gaze swept towards Li Qing. The heavenly punishment divine eye flashed with divine light and shot out at a terrifying speed. The killing intent in his heart erupted uncontrollably. Kill! 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 Today, everyone in the Thousand Beast sect will die. The one surnamed Feng just now was the first. He dared to possess my mother. This king will make sure that he will never be able to ascend. Next it's you, Li Qing. Tion saw Gu Yuanshun's pale face when he heard his question, and his heart turned even colder. Obviously, his younger brother was either dead or had been sold. Either way, they all deserved to die. They all deserved to be executed. Today, blood would flow like a river here. Starting from you, this king will kill all the people of the Thousand Beasts sect one by one. Their souls will be imprisoned in Huang Quan, and they will be tortured countless times every day. They will never be able to ascend. Although Tion's words weren't loud, the killing intent, domineering, and cold in his words made all the cultivators who heard it feel cold in their hearts. I will entertain them well. In the nether prison, at this moment, Ming was watching with relish as Elder Feng's soul was tied to a large bronze pillar by iron chains. Inside the bronze pillar, there was burning red charcoal, burning the bronze pillar until it was incomparably red. When the soul was tied up, it was burned on the spot and screamed continuously. This was the punishment of being burned. His calamity wouldn't disappear so easily. He would slowly enjoy the 18 levels of purgatory one by one. Finally, he would be sent to Huang Quan and suffer endless torture and pain every day. He would never be able to ascend. Heavenly punishment, divine light, heavenly punishment. Tion was a man of his word. He said that he would beat Li Qing down from the immortal realm. So he must beat him down. Seeing the tens of thousands of lightning bolts above his head, he didn't care about them at all. The emperor's aura rose from the throne and condensed into a magical canopy to block all evil. The heavenly punishment divine eye between his brows opened again. This time, it was the most terrifying heavenly punishment. The divine light burst out like lightning, brushing straight towards Li Qing. Humph, I am an itinerant immortal. No matter how powerful you are, you can't do anything to me. Today, I will let you know my domain. Although Li Qing was very afraid of Di Shiqian's combat strength, he still didn't believe that a mere demon king, an ant that he could easily suppress, could turn the tables around. However, when he saw the heavenly punishment divine light, he was very afraid. He wanted to dodge, but he found that he was completely locked by the divine light. Now that it was brushing over, he couldn't even dodge. He couldn't help but sneer. "Since I can't dodge, I will fight with you and see who is more powerful." With a thought, rolling thunderclouds appeared above his head and quickly spread out. In the blink of an eye, it covered an area of 1,000 feet. In this area, countless terrifying lightning bolts flashed crazily between heaven and earth like a storm, turning into terrifying fierce beasts, all of which were formed by lightning. In this area, the whole heaven and earth turned into a domain of lightning. It was isolated from the outside world. A divine light, a domain. If the two collided, what kind of scene would that be? To be continued. If you want to know what will happen next, please go to www.chidian.com. There are more chapters. Support the author. Support the original reading. Chapter 485. A domain was formed by the comprehension of a strong person and the realization of a lifetime. It was formed by the primordial purple light and the power of creation. Every type of domain was one of the most powerful techniques in the hands of every practitioner. Domains were also divided into different grades. They were divided into 4 grades: heaven, earth, black, and yellow. Among them, the yellow grade was the type that manifested outside the body, like Ao Chen sword domain. Once it was displayed, he stood among thousands of swords, and the world of the sword tomb appeared outside his body. There were thousands of swords dancing, and the sword aura was boundless, destroying the void. This type of domain was the lowest grade. It was formed not long ago and had not been strengthened or transformed. When used against enemies, it could not be separated from one's body, and it could be easily destroyed. Even so, those who could form a domain were strong people in the tribulation realm. Against strong people in the immortal realm who had not formed a domain, they could fight evenly. It could be seen that the importance of a domain was enough to allow one to challenge people of a higher level. The next grade was the black grade. The black grade domain was different. The black gray domain was formed by condensing the scattered domain into an object and condensing it into a shape. For example, Di Shiqian condensed a virtual illusory realm map. Although the condensed form was very illusory, its power was multiplied, becoming more condensed and sharp. Moreover, it could be separated from one's body and launched an attack on the enemy. It was unlike the yellow grade, which could only form a domain in a circle around one's body. The earth grade domain condensed the illusory form into a substance, just like a real body. It could be both illusory and real. It was extremely difficult to break through such a domain. Once one was enveloped in such a domain, it was almost impossible for people of the same level to break through. It always had very mysterious abilities. It could also absorb the power of the same origin to strengthen the domain. For example, the sword domain could absorb the sword aura in the void and gather it in the sword domain to form powerful battle swords. As for the heaven grade domain, it was beyond the reach of ordinary people. It required one to have a small world, an inner world, and integrate one's domain into the inner world, becoming the supreme law of that inner world. Its power was endless. Therefore, it was absolutely impossible for someone without an inner world to push their domain to the heaven grade. Looking at Li Qingshi's domain, there were all kinds of thunderbolts in the domain. Most of them were the 5 elements divine thunderbolts. The 5 elements divine thunderbolts were shuttling back and forth in the domain. Whether it was divine thunderbolts or thunderbolts, they were constantly evolving. It was like a world of thunderbolts. In the sky above the thunderbolt, there was an unusually illusory picture. Countless lightning bolts shuttled back and forth in the diagram, emitting a vast aura. Clearly, this domain had reached the peak of the yellow grade and was about to condense into the mysterious grade at any time. This was his 5 elements lightning domain. In an instant, his body was enveloped in his domain, blocking in front of him. Any attack that wanted to touch him would have to first break through his domain. However, the heavenly punishment divine light swept past and came crashing down. When it came into contact with the domain, under the divine light, the lightning in the domain strangely stopped in an instant, as if it had seen its ancestor. The divine light easily passed through the domain, as if the domain was illusory, as if it was normal, and swept through naturally. It swept towards Li Qing's head. What? How is this possible? Why can my domain block that divine light? What kind of divine light is that? It's impossible. Why is there no reaction? When Li Qing saw this, he was about to go crazy. His eyes were filled with disbelief. He couldn't accept that his domain didn't even have the ability to block the divine light. The divine light directly entered and couldn't even block it. It felt like it was going to drown him in an instant. Break! However, seeing that the divine light was about to land on his body, although Li Qing couldn't accept it, he didn't want to be hit by the divine light. He waved the Qingxin ruler in front of him and knocked on the void, creating a crack in the space in front of him. He moved his body and was about to hide in the crack in the void. Mountain come! With another loud roar, a jade-green mountain peak shot up into the sky from his body, blocking the heavenly punishment divine light and the sakura. Bolts of lightning shuttled back and forth on the flying mountain. It was clear that it contained a strong power of lightning. It swelled up in midair, turning into a mountain that was 100 feet tall. When it collided with the sakura, even the space below the mountain was shattered by the impact, erupting with a terrifying power of chaos. He threw out the flying mountain with the intention of bombarding the divine light. But more importantly, it was aimed at Di Shurtian. He wanted to brutally smash him to death with the mountain. Whoosh! However, when the divine light came into contact with the flying celestial peak, it was as if it was an illusion. It directly brushed past the peak without the slightest intention of colliding with it. The divine light came too quickly. Even if Li Qing wanted to open a crack and hide inside, it was still too late. The divine light brushed past his body like lightning. No, how can this be? My cultivation, my 1,000 years of cultivation, was brushed away. What kind of sorcery is this? Li Qing saw the divine light pass through his body. He didn't even have time to dodge. He could only feel incomparably nervous. He circulated all the true yuan in his body, but strangely, when the divine light swept past his body, it didn't cause any damage. However, in an instant, he felt that his cultivation, after being brushed by the divine light, fell by 1,000 years without warning. The tyrannical power in his body was instantly reduced by 1,000 years. The understanding of heaven and earth and the cultivation of his cultivation were all reduced by 1,000 years in an instant. Even his cultivation, after being brushed by the divine light, strangely fell from a second tribulation scattered immortal to a first tribulation scattered immortal. He fell by a whole realm. Even his understanding disappeared. Terrifying, too terrifying. Flying mountain? Break for this king. Sakura sat upright on the soaring sky throne and coldly looked at the flying peak that was growing bigger and bigger in front of him. Judging from the might emitted from the peak, it was definitely a top-grade magic treasure. If it were to collide with a mountain, it could instantly knock down a 1,000-foot-tall peak and smash into the sea, setting off a terrifying tsunami. The lightning on the mountain could instantly blast people to smithereens. Even scattered immortals would have to avoid it. However, Di Shurtian had no intention of avoiding it. He drove the soaring sky throne and fiercely crashed into it. Crash! 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 Even if the sky was blocking in front of him, he would still smash a hole in it. On his body, the domineering aura of an emperor merged with the throne beneath him. It was almost indistinguishable. That kind of noble aura was unparalleled in the world. It formed a noble canopy on top of the throne. The canopy flickered with golden divine light. Thousands of divine light rays descended, protecting the entire throne. Bang! The soaring sky throne and the flying mountain violently collided. The terrifying impact instantly annihilated the surrounding space, causing the void to violently collapse. Thousands of terrifying bolts of divine lightning shot out from the flying mountain, pouring down on Tion. However, they were all blocked by the canopy above his head. They landed on the canopy, causing it to constantly tremble as if on the verge of collapse. However, miraculously, the canopy began to spin. The lightning bolts that landed on the canopy were all flung away by the canopy. They landed in the surroundings and bombarded the void, causing waves of rumbling sounds. The surroundings were like purgatory. On the contrary, the divine light on the flying mountain flickered violently, dimming and brightening at times. It was abnormally terrifying. Crack! A clear sound rang out as a frightening crack appeared on the flying arrival peak. In an instant, it rapidly extended in all directions. In the blink of an eye, it densely covered the entire mountain. As the divine light dimmed, the originally swollen mountain immediately shrank at a speed visible to the naked eye, its light incomparably dim. In an instant, it became the size of a palm. Countless cracks covered the mountain. It spun and flew outwards. It was actually unable to resist the soaring sky throne and had suffered heavy injuries. Capture! Tion roared, his left hand pinching the air in the direction of the mountain. Immediately, a golden palm dozens of feet wide appeared out of thin air, crashing down with a bang and grabbing the mountain. No matter how the mountain struggled, it was unable to break free from the grasp of the palm. Squeezing, it swiftly returned to him. This mountain was able to withstand the impact of my soaring sky throne and not be completely destroyed. It looks like a pretty good treasure. Tion caught the mountain. Thousands of cracks appeared on the mountain, but it had not been completely destroyed. It was clear that the quality of the mountain itself was pretty good. He put it away. The heavenly punishment divine, eye between his brows, was still flowing with a rich divine light, appearing to have infinite divine power. Demon, what kind of evil eye is that? Why did my cultivation disappear? Li Qing's eyes turned blood red as he glared at Tion fiercely. The fall of his cultivation almost caused him to completely collapse. Think about it. What was the purpose of immortal cultivators in their lives? Wasn't it to increase their cultivation and become stronger? In order to resist fate, transform into immortals, climb the peak, and master the infinite power that could create clouds and rain with a flip of the hand. 1,000 years of bitter cultivation was actually beaten down in an instant. This feeling was no different from falling from the sky to the ground. Anyone would find it difficult to accept. Not only will I beat down your cultivation, but no one in your 1,000 Beast sect will be able to escape today. You want to open the illusory door? Dream on. Tion's gaze swept across, and his expression was cold. He saw that Gu Yuanshan had actually sneaked into the main hall and was facing an altar. He continuously took out pieces of supreme-grade spiritual stones and placed them on the altar. Around him, there was a large group of elite disciples. All of them were looking at the altar with anticipation. In his eyes, there was a yearning for life. With what you have done to my mother, dying thousands of times is considered a mercy. You want to escape? Don't even think about escaping in front of me. I'm going to imprison your souls in the Yellow Springs. You'll never be able to transcend. Accompanied by that cold voice. Between his brows, the heavenly punishment divine, I shot out a ray of divine light again. Heavenly punishment divine, soul capture. This time, it was no longer targeted at one person. Instead, the divine light swept from left to right, instantly sweeping across the 7 mountains in the 1,000 Beast sect. Wherever the divine light passed, the souls of the disciples of the 1,000 Beast sect who were fighting with the Green Phoenix Sword Servants were forcefully pulled out and sucked into the infernal prison along with the divine light. He wanted to destroy the 1,000 Beast sect with a single glance. To be continued. If you want to know what happens next, please go to www.chijian.com and read more chapters. Support the author. Support the original reading. Chapter 486. The Divine Eye of Heavenly Punishment. Every ability, when used to the limit, had incredible power. Especially after the promotion, the Divine Eye actually gave birth to an innate divine restriction, increasing the power of the Divine Eye by more than 10 times. The ability to absorb the soul was something that even the composing bead could not resist. When used to the limit, even the soul of an immortal king could be shaken. The strongest person in the 1000 Beast sect was only a 2 tribulation itinerant immortal, whose strength was equivalent to an earth immortal. No, he had just been hit by the divine light of heavenly punishment, which wiped out 1,000 years of cultivation and reduced him to a 1 tribulation itinerant immortal. His strength was even lower now. Under the divine eye of heavenly punishment, he couldn't escape. At this moment, as soon as the soul catcher was used, the souls of the disciples of the 1000 Beast sect were forcibly pulled out. How could this be? My soul, my body, Uncle Master, please save me. I don't want to die. I'm a combination realm expert. I'm going to transcend the heavenly tribulation and become a tribulation realm expert. I want to become an immortal. No, devil, you're really a devil. Our 1000 Beast sect is finished. That damn divine light can't be stopped. We really can't stop it. Divine soul, where are you trying to take my divine soul? It's too vicious. It won't even let my soul go. It won't even give us a chance to reincarnate. I'll fight it out with you. Countless cultivators whose souls were taken out showed all kinds of postures in the divine light. Some were terrified, some were cursing. Some kept struggling, trying to escape. Unfortunately, in the divine light of heavenly punishment, it was impossible for them to escape. Even immortals and Buddhas were afraid of the divine light of heavenly punishment. In the blink of an eye, thousands of souls were pulled into the nether prison. Good. So many souls. I really like it. I just lost 1,000,000 soul essences of savage beasts, and now I have these souls to make up for it. TSK, those screams are really wonderful music. The more souls, the better. The more souls we can fill the nether prison. Without souls, how can the nether prison show its power? When Nether saw a large number of divine souls being sucked into the nether prison one after another, he laughed crazily. His eyes sparkled as he looked at those divine souls, as if he had seen the best toys. When the god souls came in, a large number of jailers would lock them up with soul fetters and throw them into different levels of purgatory. Then, they skillfully took out all kinds of torture tools to punish them. Shouts and interrogations resounded in Nether Prison one after another. The wardens were interrogating their souls and extracting everything from their mouths. Cultivation techniques, secrets, they were dug out bit by bit. No. Li Qing roared, and a divine light appeared under his body. He turned around and wanted to escape. When he saw the divine light of the heavenly punishment, he trembled from the bottom of his soul. He didn't dare to experience the terror of the divine light again. His first thought was to escape. However, could they escape? This divine light swept across the void, covering the entire world. Everywhere it passed, a large number of divine souls were sucked into the nether prison. Those disciples, those outer disciples who planted spiritual plants for the 1000 Beast sect, were all killed. Terrifying, it was too terrifying. After the divine light passed, the cultivators in the sky and on the ground fell straight down like cut straws. It seemed that there was a kind of nameless fear spreading in the air. The divine light came to Li Qing's side and swept over his body. Immediately, Li Qing felt an irresistible force binding his body and pulling him into the divine light. Individual immortals didn't have flesh and blood. His whole body was pulled in just like that. No matter how violently he resisted, he couldn't change his fate at all. If he hadn't advanced, he might have been able to break through the divine light. But now, no matter how hard he struggled, he couldn't escape and was instantly sucked into the nether prison. As soon as he entered the nether prison, before he could look around, a blood-red dragon claw fell from the sky. It seized the dragon claw and threw it directly into Huang Quan, making him roll a few times. The divine light was too fast. In the blink of an eye, the entire Thousand Beasts sect and the 7 mountains were completely plowed. Even Gu Yuanshan's divine soul was unwillingly taken away when he wanted to open the illusory door of nothingness. In just a few breaths, the entire Thousand Beasts sect was annihilated. After retracting the heavenly punishment divine light, Di Tian's face became slightly pale. Even his divine eyes were closed. In between his eyebrows, a purple scar appeared once again. The purple scar's radiance became a little dim. The heavenly punishment divine eye is indeed powerful, but this kind of consumption is too scary. Even with my current royal true power, I can only use it 3 times in a row, and my true power is almost depleted. It seems that I still have to improve my cultivation as soon as possible. His face was hidden under the mask, and outsiders couldn't see anything. Qingxia, lead the Green Phoenix swordsmen and immediately gather all the valuable things in the Thousand Beasts sect and take them away. Find their treasure vault and don't leave a single tile behind. Yes, my king. With an order, all the corpses of the disciples of the Thousand Beasts sect were quickly collected. The treasures on their bodies were stored separately. At a fast speed, they broke into the treasure vault and took away all the treasures that the sect had accumulated over thousands of years. It was like a locust swarm passing through. They really didn't leave a single thing behind. Poor. They were really poor. Di Tian was now putting all his assets into the construction of the 1,000 Demon City. All his assets were used up. In order to build the 1,000 Demon City, the amount of materials consumed every day could be counted as a mountain. Except for some precious treasures, the rest were all used to refine divine crystals to build the 1,000 Demon City. It was really back to square one. He had become poor and destitute. Destroy a sect. With the sect's thousands of years of accumulation, it must be a huge amount of wealth. How could they let go so easily? Immediately, Qingxia and the others quickly searched everywhere. They were simply acting like they were 1 meter higher than the sky. Not long later, Qingxia quickly flew from the main peak to Di Tian. She respectfully bowed and said, "My king, the treasure vault of the 1,000 Beasts sect has been found. It is under the main hall. There are restrictions protecting it. Your subordinate is incompetent and can't break the restrictions. There is also an altar that is very mysterious. The materials used to build these houses are not ordinary. Take them all and bring them back. What restrictions? Watch me break them. And that altar, don't think that I don't know what it is. I have seen the illusory door of nothingness. It must be a passage to another world. After searching, we will kill our way into the real nest of the 1,000 Beasts sect through the illusory door of nothingness." Di Tian said ruthlessly. With a wave of his hand, a gigantic palm appeared in the void once again. It grabbed the palace, grabbed it, and pulled it out fiercely. Rumble. The entire mountain was shaking violently, emitting terrifying rumbling sounds. An incomparably huge hall was forcibly uprooted from the ground on the spot. At the same time, under the bursts of golden divine light, it shrank violently and was put into the storage ring. In an instant, on the original spot of the hall, it was as if a section was cut off in an instant. A big hole appeared. A hidden hole was revealed. On top of it, there were all kinds of restrictions which were very powerful. Obviously, there was an extremely important secret hidden below. Treasure vault. The hidden light of treasures flashed from time to time, completely revealing its real location. It was the treasure vault. All the treasures that the 1,000 Beasts sect had plundered for thousands of years were in the treasure vault. It must be a huge amount of wealth. After seeing it, even Di Tian was a little excited. A treasure was in front of him. Suddenly, a loud roar came from dark in his mind. "Crazy D, be careful. Quick, dodge quickly. What a powerful pressure, what a terrifying power. A peerless expert is attacking you." In the nether prison, Dark's 2 dragon eyes flashed with a crazy look. He was so scared that his liver and guts were about to burst. He kept roaring, looking at the void above his head in fear. As soon as his voice fell, he saw a huge finger suddenly appear in the void. It came out of nowhere. On the finger, he didn't feel the slightest bit of pressure. Around it, the space wasn't distorted, and there wasn't any terrifying phenomenon. It was merely poking down in a very ordinary manner, aiming at Sakura's head. Who? Who? Who wants to kill me? Others might not feel that there was anything to be afraid of, but Sakura, who was under this finger, felt that ever since that finger appeared, the space around him seemed to have been sealed in an instant. He was completely imprisoned, unable to break out and unable to escape. Under the finger, almost all of the boundless pressure landed on his body. That pressure was endless, akin to the might of the heavens. It was incomparably heavy, pressuring Sakura to the point of bending his body unceasingly, wanting to force him to his knees. You want me to kneel down? No, impossible. I only kneel to my parents. Even heaven and earth can't make me kneel. Shurtian's face under the mask was full of arrogance and unyielding. How could he be forced to kneel down by a finger? He wanted to be the emperor, so how could he bow his head? Bang! With a rumble, Sakura sat upright on the soaring sky throne with a loud rumble. On the throne, a gorgeous and noble canopy rose up, blocking the vast heavenly might that poured down in torrents. Rumble! Around the throne, the void collapsed and was completely annihilated, erupting with a terrifying destructive force. As for that finger, the speed of its descent wasn't fast. It was as though it was intentionally tormenting Sakura as it descended inch by inch. However, with every inch it descended, the pressure became even more terrifying as it continued to grow. It wanted to crush him. What was even more frightening was that this pressure only fell on his body, and there was no reaction from the outside. This level of control was enough to make him extraordinary. Who was it? Who wanted to kill him? With just a finger, he could clearly feel the aura of death. It was terrifying, too terrifying, and he couldn't resist it. Everything in front of this finger would be easily poked into powder. This was an attempt to kill him. To be continued. If you want to know what will happen next, please go to www.chijian.com. There are more chapters. Support the author. Support the original reading. Chapter 487. This is an ancient giant. This is an ancient giant attacking you. You can't stop this power. With your current ability, you can't stop it at all. Damn it, you've already used the Eye of Punishment 3 times. You can't use it anymore. Who is it? Which venerable dares to attack a junior? Is he really so shameless as to bully the weak? Dark roared madly. A single finger could contain such incredible power. This was the power of an ancient giant who had reached the imperishable realm. Only venerables could possess such terrifying strength. These ancient giants had always opened their own dojos and comprehended the operation of the heavenly Tao all year round, comprehending the principles of the world. A slight squint of their eyes would be thousands of years. Why would they suddenly attack Shurtian so ruthlessly? This was simply an attempt to kill him. Sakura was only in the realm of an ancient demon king. Even if his combat power was comparable to the immortal realm, he could even fight against a wandering immortal with his battle techniques. Once the heavens' punishment divine eyes were used, immortals wouldn't be afraid. If they couldn't win, they could escape. However, compared to those ancient giants and unparalleled experts, Sakura was a demon king. However, the difference was like heaven and earth. He could not reason with them. He could really kill him with a finger. Between life and death, there was great terror. This was something that no one could avoid. Shurtian's eyes showed traces of madness, but his heart was unprecedentedly calm. He knew that at this moment, any begging for mercy would be in vain. He could only rely on himself to seize a chance of survival in this situation of certain death. He shouted coldly, "7 sins demonic zither, Earth spirit pearl, immovable as a mountain, unparalleled defense. With spirit pearl, keep me alive. Tiger soul, emperor way of the extreme emperor, death of gods and demons." Above his head, the 7 sins demonic zither flew out and hovered above his head. Instantly, the 2 spirit pearls embedded on the zither, Earth Spirit Pearl, and Wood Spirit Pearl. The Earth Spirit Pearl emitted a yellow divine light and quickly rushed into the yellow canopy above the Lingxiao throne. Suddenly, the divine light on the canopy increased, and a yellow halo spun on it. The boundless power of the earth was applied to the canopy, causing its defensive power to increase by dozens of times. From the wood spirit bead, countless beams of azure light fell onto the cloudy throne. Rich life force continuously surged into Di Shitian's body, protecting him from head to toe. This was especially true of his heart, where there was a mass of azure light so dense that it was almost tangible. This was not only his heart, but also the location of his cultivation base and the location of his monster abode. If he could protect it, then he would have a chance at everything. Clang! The tiger's soul instantly appeared in his right hand. With a swing of the blade, all the true power in his body surged into the blade like a tide, causing the blade light to flow on the tiger's soul, emitting an incomparable sharpness. His eyes were filled with unruly anger as he glared at the finger that was pressing down inch by inch. This finger pressed down so slowly, it was obvious that it wanted to humiliate him before he died. How could he let others do as they wished? Extreme Monarch Emperor Dao, death of gods and demons. Thousands of gods and demons instantly surged out. Powerful gods and demons comparable to ancient monster kings covered the heavens and earth, but in an instant, they all surged back into the tiger's soul. Every time one of them returned, the aura of the tiger soul saber would instantly increase by a fraction. When thousands of gods and demons were all gathered in the tiger's soul, the saber chi that burst out from the saber pierced through the rainbow. It shook the sun and the moon. The sharp saber light was so sharp that even heaven immortals could not dodge it. Kacha! The saber light spanned across thousands of feet, transforming into an incomparably huge demon saber. It slashed towards a finger as if it could split the heavens and earth. Roar! A tiger's roar shook the void once again. The sound waves of the tiger's roar surged out like a tide, mysteriously condensing into the figure of a black tiger that was thousands of feet tall. It roared as it charged forward. All kinds of attacks and defenses were executed in an instant. At this moment, under the pressure of life and death, Di Shitian released all kinds of attacks, almost breaking through one of his own limits. He reached an unprecedented peak. The terrifying attacks that erupted seemed to want to shatter the heavens and earth into dust. Complete destruction. Bam! However, these terrifying attacks that even immortals and Buddhas might not dare to face directly were like ants to that finger. As it stabbed down, the tiger soul saber that was thousands of feet long collided with it. A faint starlight appeared on the finger, and the metallic sound of saber and sword colliding could be heard. Kacha! That finger only paused for a moment, but the thousands of feet long saber light shattered inch by inch under the finger. It was annihilated, dispersing into thousands of saber chi. Wherever the finger landed, the saber would shatter. The surrounding space also collapsed and was annihilated, turning into a scene of great destruction. The divine tiger formed by the tiger's roar was shattered under the finger's poke. King, we'll help you. When Qing Xia and the other green phoenix swordsmen saw this scene, their phoenix eyes widened. They waved the feather swords in their hands, and the 60,000 feather swords slashed towards that finger at the same time. Streaks of green sword light slashed toward the finger like a drill. However, when the sword chi landed on the finger, it was like scratching an itch. They could not even break through the skin. It collapsed on the spot. Qing Xia, lead the green phoenix swordsman and leave immediately. Enter this void door and see your demon empress. Tell her that I will not die so easily. I will be back again. Wait for me. A wild light flashed in Di Shitian's eyes. With a roar, he casually threw a purple gold ball towards Qing Xia and the others. Bam! The ball exploded, bursting out thousands of rays of light. They quickly condensed into an illusory giant door. The space inside was twisting and changing unpredictably. It was abnormally mysterious. It was as if the door was connected to another world. It stood in midair. No, we will live and die with our king. When Qingxia heard this, she shook her head stubbornly. She looked at the descending finger with determination. She waved the feather sword in her hand and was about to attack again. The green phoenix swordsmen swear to live and die with our king. The other green phoenix swordsmen all shouted. There was a hint of determination in their eyes. The green phoenix swordsmen were loyal. As long as they recognized their master, they would never change. The moment they recognized Di Shirtian as their king, they had already handed all of their lives to him. They would be honored and disgraced and die. How could they betray their master at this moment? Good, good, good. What I Di Shirtian did was not wrong. At this moment of life and death, there is still a group of subordinates who are willing to die with me. Satisfying, truly satisfying. Di Shirtian glanced at Qingxia and the others. His eyes were filled with a kind of gratification. As the saying went, it was easy to live and die together, but difficult to live and die together. He had a reason to be gratified that they still did not abandon him at this moment. He laughed a few times. His face darkened, and his majesty appeared again. He said seriously, I am still not your king. Yes, you will always be the king of the green phoenix race. We are willing to die together with king. Qingxia led the others and knelt on one knee in front of Di Shirtian. Then are you still going to listen to me? Qingxia was silent. She was not a fool. Naturally, she could guess the meaning of those words. A strange expression flashed across her face. In the end, she spat out a word with difficulty. Yes. Good. I order all the green phoenix swordsmen and any monster that wants to leave can leave through the illusory void door. Quick, quick, quick. Di Shirtian looked at the finger that was not far away from him. A hint of arrogance appeared in his eyes. Yes, king. Qingxia agreed with difficulty. She waved her hand and led all the green phoenix swordsmen into the illusory void door. The moment she turned around, a drop of tear fell to the ground. Like a line, they entered the illusory void door. Similarly, all the monsters that came out of the mountain followed them. Before Sakura left the southern barbarian lands, he asked Ming to refine the illusory door. It was connected to the Linglong Treasure Pagoda. Once one entered it, they would appear in the Linglong Treasure Pagoda when they came out. Originally, he wanted to save his mother and prevent the experts of the immortal world from obstructing him. He wanted to leave a way out just in case. He did not expect to use it at this moment. He could save Qingxia and the others, but he could not save himself. Come, today, I will use the numinous sky thrown to fight with you. I don't believe that a mere finger can *king stab me to death. Sakura let out a roar. The anger in his eyes was not one to be outdone. All the royal true force in his body was like a tide, crazily gushing into the numinous sky throne. Suddenly, the numinous sky throne, that kind of nobility, that kind of supreme emperor chi, surged a few times, 10 times. All the true force was not reserved. The canopy above his head became more condensed. As Di Shirtian's imperial carriage, how could this numinous sky throne be ordinary? The whole material was refined with high-grade, divine crystals. It was refined with meteorite, divine iron, 10,000-year-old ironwood heart, 10,000-year-old warm jade, and heavenly stars. Needless to say, divine crystals were incomparably hard and magical materials that were beyond the 5 elements of heaven and earth. Not only were they luxurious, but they were also more magical and difficult to damage. Meteorite, divine iron, was a divine iron condensed from all the essence of a star after it fell. It could attract the power of the stars. The 10,000-year-old ironwood heart could be said to be an undying heart. When it was integrated into the throne, it seemed to have a life of its own. It automatically swallowed the essence of the sun and the moon and the spiritual energy of heaven and earth to strengthen the throne. The heavenly stars were even more magical. Only half of it was integrated, and the numinous sky throne did not need to be infused with true force at all. It could fly and never fall. The speed of the throne increased countless times in an instant, and it could travel thousands of miles in a flash. Furthermore, there were pearls on the throne, water-dispelling pearls. It could travel unimpeded in water. Fire-dispelling pearls could travel through fire. Evil-dispelling pearls could not be invaded by any evil. Dust-dispelling pearls could not be tainted by any dust. In order to create this numinous sky throne, Tion could be said to have used up all his resources. Then, he infused it with various restrictions, thousands of formations, countless talismans, and nourished it with the Emperor's true force, turning it into an imperial carriage. Its might was so strong that it had reached the limits of what Tion could do now. At this moment, the numinous sky throne's power was fully unleashed, forming a canopy. With the support of the Earth Spirit Pearl and the boundless Earth spiritual energy, the defensive power of the canopy skyrocketed. With the protection of the Wood Spirit Pearl, it could be said that the numinous sky throne had completely turned into an unbreakable tortoise shell now. If you want to know what will happen after this, please go to www.chijian.com and read more chapters. Support the author, support the original reading. Chapter 488. Boom, boom, boom. His fingers suddenly fell and poked the canopy on the numinous sky throne. Instantly, a vast and unstoppable force poured down. The void under his finger was shattering. But at this moment, although the canopy was trembling violently, the dark yellow divine light on it was still blocking the top of the Sakra's head. Chi! Chi! A terrifying crisp sound rang out in the air. The surrounding space was like a piece of glass. Countless terrifying spiderweb-like cracks mysteriously appeared and spread in all directions. Then it shattered and was destroyed. The surrounding void was completely shattered in a fine powder with a single finger. Countless elements of earth, fire, water, and wind emerged from the void. The divine light on the canopy dimmed, but it was still holding on. The throne shook violently in mid-air, as if it was going to fall at any time. Terrifying. Too terrifying. This was an ancient giant. This was the terrifying strength of a venerable, unstoppable, truly unstoppable. In the face of absolute strength, no matter how one tried to block it, everything was like an illusion. Now that the finger fell, it was as if an ancient giant was impatient and wanted to poke an ant to death. There was no difference. A casual poke could have such incredible power. Thus, the strength of the ancient giants would be unimaginably strong. Lunatic D, I can't block it, I can't block it. This was an ancient giant. Damn it, he didn't want any face, bullying the weak with the strong. This was basically trying to kill him. This time, it's really over for you. A look of horror appeared in Ming's eyes. He knew how terrifying an expert of that level was. Not to mention a finger. Even a casual glance could cause the void to collapse. It was too terrifying. It's not that easy to kill me. Huangji True Force, Huangji Shocking World, reverse for me. So what if you're an ancient giant? You can't kill me easily. Don't even think about using a finger to humiliate me to death. Reverse, reverse, reverse. Tion let out a crazy roar, his eyes filled with unyielding arrogance. Crazy demon. To survive, one had to be crazy demon. Any holding back was asking for death. At this moment, Tion had gone crazy. The book of the king's shocking world inside his body started to spin in a counterclockwise direction under the influence of his madness. Boom, boom. The Royal Extreme Book of Shocking World was a very rare book. There was nothing like it. Every way it was used had been tested countless times. If it was used correctly, it could absorb desire power, absorb the power of the sky and the earth, and absorb the essence of the sun and the moon. It could increase one's cultivation at an incredible speed, making the true power in one's body extremely pure. Reverse? That was madness. If something went wrong, the demon meridians in the reverse rotation in his body would break inch by inch. Reverse was something that had never been done before. With this reversal, the demon refining cauldron, which was originally rotating clockwise, suddenly started to rotate counterclockwise. This sudden reversal caused the entire demon refining cauldron to tremble violently, as if it was going to be destroyed at any time. And in the cauldron, the fifth rank Black Lotus started to rotate at an unprecedented speed. On the Black Lotus, there was an intense black divine light that completely enveloped the Black Lotus. A boundless Huangji true force started to rise crazily in the Black Lotus at a frightening speed. At the same time, Di Shitian's tall and sturdy body started to shrink at a speed visible to the naked eye. The essence of the flesh and blood in his body was disappearing continuously, turning into true force and pouring crazily into the numinous sky throne. His expression was abnormally withered. However, his eyes were still filled with an unyielding look. He would rather die standing than live kneeling. A huge amount of royal true force was continuously poured into the throne. Immediately, the imperial canopy on top of the throne shone brightly once again. The imperial canopy, which was originally trembling, once again became stable, tenaciously withstanding the attack. However, the downward momentum of the finger could not be stopped. Under the terrifying force, although the canopy did not shatter, the entire Lingxiao throne was pushed down by the finger. It fell violently to the ground, and with every inch it fell, the space below would shatter. With a rumble, the earth, fire, water, and wind would surge out. Bang! The throne was pushed to the ground, and suddenly the ground could not support it, and it fell directly from the entrance of the treasury. At the same time, the entire main peak, under a terrifying force, roared violently. As it shook, countless terrifying cracks appeared, and in an instant covered the entire main peak. With a loud bang, it turned into powder at a speed visible to the naked eye. It was pressed down by the finger. The numinous sky throne crashed into the treasury. This momentum did not stop, and it crazily pressed down on the ground. Di Shitian felt that the numinous sky throne seemed to be pressing down on something. In that instant, the glow of countless treasures appeared in front of him. This was truly a treasure trove. Thousands upon thousands of treasures appeared in front of him in an instant. However, all of those treasures were crushed by the terrifying power unleashed by the collision between the cloudy jade throne and the finger. Countless treasures were crushed into powder. The entire treasure trove collapsed along with it. 1,000 feet, 3,000 feet, 8,000 feet. It was pushed 80,000 feet into the ground by the finger, and a terrifying bottomless pit was blasted out. The endless force bombarded the canopy continuously. Di Shitian spat out mouthfuls of blood, and his expression became abnormally dispirited. The consequences of reversing the cultivation method were too terrifying. The demon meridians in his body were violently ruptured, and there were crisp cracking sounds. Crash! Under the bombardment of the finger, the light on the canopy dimmed, and countless cracks appeared, as if it would shatter at any time. All of a sudden, the numinous sky throne that was descending at an unbelievable speed seemed to have collided with an extremely hard object. With a loud bang, a terrifying rumble was heard. Suddenly, a simple and unadorned light of chaos rose up from under the throne. The space around the numinous sky throne suddenly distorted strangely, like ripples. When the throne landed on it, it was swept into the distorted space in an instant. At that moment, Di Shitian only felt that the power of the entire world seemed to have bombarded his body in an instant, and he was unable to resist. His body trembled violently, and he spat out a mouthful of essence blood. His body was dispirited, and he fainted on the throne. All of his consciousness had completely disappeared. He was unconscious. On the throne, the canopy shattered, and countless spatial fragments turned into spatial blades, cutting Di Shitian's body. The numinous sky throne was blasted into the spatial fragments, and the finger also stopped. There seemed to be a strange sound of bewilderment. However, the finger did not give it much thought. Just like when it appeared, it strangely retracted and completely disappeared. If it were not for the collapsed main peak and the terrifying bottomless pit that was poked out by the finger. If everything that had happened before was revealed, in that bottomless pit, even the boiling magma under the ground violently spewed out and the earth fire was emitted. It was very terrifying. Scenes after scenes, from D. Shurtion using the Emperor's wrath to using the heavenly punishment divine, to forcibly reduce a second tribulation scattered immortal to a first tribulation scattered immortal in one fell swoop. Not only that, but the divine light that swept over hundreds of thousands of disciples of the Thousand Beasts sect was also sucked into that strange eye. It destroyed a sect with just a glance. Then, it was even more incredible. A finger that came out of nowhere actually poked that unparalleled demon king into the ground. That terrifying scene made all the cultivators who saw it feel endless shock in their hearts. Countless tempestuous waves surged in their hearts. My goodness, terrifying, too terrifying. What kind of expert is the owner of that finger? That demon king, D. Shurtion, could even kill a second tribulation scattered immortal in one stroke. But he couldn't resist that finger and was poked into the ground. Could it be that he was poked to death by that finger? What kind of powerful divine sense is that eye? I heard that in antiquity times, there was a race called the three-eyed race. They were born with 3 eyes, and one of them was upside down on their foreheads. It was said that the eye had infinite power and was very powerful. But this eye must be even more terrifying. It can even reduce one's realm and cultivation, and forcibly take one's soul out of one's body. Terrifying, too terrifying. Even the formation couldn't resist that one combat skill. D. Shurtion's battle strength is at least comparable to that of immortal realm experts or even immortals. My goodness, such an expert was poked to death by a finger that came out of nowhere. It's too terrifying. The Demon Clan. The Demon Clan has really produced an extraordinary expert. In my opinion, he may not really be poked to death by that finger. He may even have a chance to escape. The Thousand Beasts sect is really gone this time. No, I heard that first-class sects often have a heavenly world as their foundation, and it's the most important forbidden area. That world is the real Thousand Beasts sect. It's not completely destroyed, but it's inevitable that its vitality will be greatly damaged. The cultivators who had witnessed what had happened immediately began to discuss and exclaim one after another. First, they were discussing whether D. Shurtion could escape from that finger, and second, they were discussing the destruction of the Thousand Beasts sect. Although they didn't participate in it, they witnessed the whole process, especially the divine eye of heaven's punishment. No one would be able to forget that heaven-piercing divine light. At the same time, countless flying swords and jade talismans flew wildly in all directions like locusts. They quickly spread what they saw to their respective sects, and even their relatives and friends. With the speed of information transmission in the world of immortal cultivators, what happened in the Thousand Beasts sect immediately spread to the entire world of immortal cultivators at an incredible speed. In a relatively short period of time, it spread to most areas, and there was an uproar and a lot of discussion everywhere. First, there was the appearance of the blood god's blood print robe, which annihilated several sects in succession. However, those sects weren't deep-rooted sects after all. Now, Sakura annihilated another sect. The Thousand Beasts sect was a first-rate sect, and it was actually annihilated by force. This was truly inconceivable, especially the divine eye of heaven's punishment, which made countless cultivators extremely fearful. In a short time, the name D. Shurtion spread across the entire continent. If you want to know what happened next, please go to www.chijian.com. There are more chapters. Support the author. Support the original reading. Chapter 489. Brother, have you heard? There's another powerful demon king among the demon clan. He destroyed the entire Thousand Beasts sect in one fell swoop. Even a mountain gate was destroyed. It's really monstrous. TSK, that eye is really terrifying. It can forcibly absorb one's soul and knock down one's cultivation base. It's heaven-defying. It's really heaven-defying. I don't know what kind of ability it is. It can reduce one's cultivation base. It's really comparable to divine punishment. I heard that at the last moment, a finger came out of nowhere and poked D. Shurtion from the sky to the ground. It directly poked a terrifying hole tens of thousands of feet deep in the ground. That scene was too terrifying. I don't know if he was directly poked to death. I also don't know which powerful existence that Demon King angered. Right now, countless cultivators are rushing to the Thousand Beasts sect. Let's go quickly. Maybe we can get a share of it. Even if a first-rate sect is destroyed, there should be a lot of treasures left. The news of the Thousand Beasts sect spread. With the speed of news in the cultivation world, it didn't take long for it to spread everywhere. There was a lot of discussion everywhere. A first-rate sect was an existence like Mount Tai in the cultivation world. It was destroyed just like that. This kind of thing had not happened in the past thousands of years. It was difficult not to cause a widespread impact. First, there was the blood god Shui. Now, there was another monster among the demon clan. For a time, most of the sects took this as a sign of the arrival of troubled times. And in the cultivation world, because the divine eye between D. Shurtion's brows was too earth-shattering, when it was used, it was almost like the descent of heavenly punishment. Unknowingly, he was given a nickname, Heavenly Punishment Demon King. Since then, their impression of the demon clan was no longer the 8 demon kings, but the 9 demon kings. They put D. Shurtion on the same level as the Rock Demon King and recognized his powerful strength. Let's not talk about this for now. However, at the last moment, D. Shurtion opened the illusory door of illusion and forced Qingxia to lead the Green Phoenix Swordsman and a group of demon beasts into the Linglong Treasure Pagoda. At the same time, in the first layer of the Linglong Treasure Pagoda, a door appeared out of thin air. Qingxia and the others rushed out of the door. There were many demons in the pagoda, and they immediately discovered this situation. Instantly, under whose arrangements, they temporarily settled the group of demonic beasts down and reported to the demon empress, Chunshi, in the jade pool of the demon city. Chunshi sat in the phoenix chariot with 2 maids standing respectfully at his sides. He had a solemn expression on his face. His eyes were fixed on Qingxia, who was kneeling in front of him. An invisible majesty spread out. You are Qingxia, the Green Phoenix Swordsman conferred by my husband. You said that Shurtion was stabbed into the ground by a finger. Chunshi took a deep breath and forcibly suppressed the waves in his heart. He calmly asked for every detail. Reporting to the Demon Empress, Qingxia's words are all true. This is your subordinate, Seal. Please have a look. Qingxia saw Chunshi for the first time and was shocked by Chunshi's stunning beauty and majesty. In her words, she did not dare to show any disrespect. She quickly took out her seal and held it forward with both hands. A maid came forward to take it and handed it to Chunshi. The seals in the demon city were all made of divine crystals. Only D. Shurtion had divine crystals. There was no force that could imitate them. This was unique. As soon as Chunshi took it in his hand and looked at it slightly, he knew that this seal was real. He nodded and asked the maid to return the seal to Qingxia's hand. The seal is real. In this case, from today on, you and the Green Phoenix Swordsman will be stationed at the Jade Pool as the Jade Pool's internal servants. Chunshi thought for a while and ordered. The Jade Pool and the Lingxiao Treasure Hall were the most important places in the Demon City. Among them, the Jade Pool was D. Shurtion's and Chunshi's bedroom. Naturally, men could not get close to it. Maids were mostly girls from the Fox clan who had transformed into human form. As for guards, now that the Green Phoenix Swordsman had arrived, they could guard the Jade Pool. After the arrangement, Chunshi waved his men to leave. He took out 2 lamps and saw that there was no oil in the 2 white jade lamps. However, they were able to burn out of thin air. One of the lamps was abnormally strong, while the other lamp's lamp was extremely dim, as if it could be extinguished by a gust of wind. But in the flame, there was an unyielding tenacity. It had never been completely extinguished. Instead, there was a trend of gradually brightening. Natal original spirit lamp. Chun, she had one. Di Shirtion had the other. The original spirit was connected to the lamp. If the body died, the lamp would be extinguished. If the lamp was not extinguished, the vitality would not be extinguished. Chun Shi stared at the dim lamp without blinking. The tension in his heart could not help but ease a little. He muttered to himself, "The natal original spirit lamp is not extinguished. Although it is dim, there is still a strong vitality. At least there is no danger to life. But who is the owner of that finger? He can actually force you to this extent. To be able to force you to the brink of despair with just one finger, this is the strength of those who have reached the ancient giant, the venerable level. How could Shirtion provoke such a strong person?" Chun Shi frowned slightly as she pondered to herself. Although she did not witness it with her own eyes, she could already clearly imagine just how frightening the scene was from Qing Xia's description. To be able to achieve such a great injustice, to be able to gather all the strength together without revealing a single bit, and to erupt with such a world-shaking mighty force. Only those ancient giants who stood at the peak of the world were able to do so. Chun Shi frowned slightly and secretly pondered. Although she did not witness it with her own eyes, she was still able to clearly imagine just how frightening the scene was from Qing Xia's description. As long as they were willing, one finger could easily destroy a small thousand world. The only thing Chun Shi could not figure out was who on earth, which ancient giant would be so shameless to bully a small demon king. Humph! Chun Shi's eyes flickered with 7 colored rays of light. Inside, it seemed to contain the true meaning of an instant and eternity. She coldly snorted, "Every dog has its day. No matter who it is, if they were to lay their hands on Sakura today, sooner or later, there will be a day of reckoning. No matter if it was Sakura or her, they weren't the kind of people who would swallow their losses. This debt, for the time being, will be remembered and in the future will be repaid tenfold, 100-fold. Seeing that Di Shirtian's life was not in danger, although the natal spirit lamp was dim, it was slowly recovering. Obviously, at this moment, at least, he was not in a desperate situation. She believed that, with his ability, as long as he was not dead, there would be a way to escape. I must be in charge of the demon city. Ratta and the others have already spread the news, and an intelligence network has begun to be established. I believe that the construction of the demon city will be much faster." Chun Shi looked up at the sky. She knew very well that only by building the demon city, she, Di Shirtian, and even the entire demon race would have a real place to base themselves. A place that could protect themselves. At this moment, what she could do was to do her best to complete the construction of this unparalleled ancient city. She prayed for Di Shirtian in her heart. Her jade hand unconsciously stroked her abdomen a few times. She could clearly feel that there was a little life in her belly. A kind of motherly radiance flashed on her body. In the secular world, there is a saying that pregnancy took 10 months, but for the more powerful existence, the gestation time was often extremely long, calculated in 10 years or hundreds of years. Until now, Chun Shi's belly did not show any obvious signs of pregnancy. It still looked as perfect as before, without the slightest flaw. Since Rat Da's men spread the news, there had gradually been news gathering in the southern barbarian. Then it was specially organized into books. Then, with the wealth from selling the spirit wine, they bought a large number of materials and secretly transported them to the southern barbarian. All of these made the construction of the demon city several times faster than before. Everything was developing in a good direction. At this moment, Di Shirtian was stabbed into the ground by the finger that appeared out of nowhere. It directly penetrated through the 1,000 beast sex treasury and finally went tens of thousands of feet underground. He did not know what it touched, but all of a sudden, the surrounding space distorted and was swept into the space turbulence. Even the canopy formed by the cloud throne collapsed. The power of thousands of space blades formed, cutting his body, leaving countless hideous and terrible wounds. Fortunately, there was the wood spirit bead to protect his body, keeping his life force from being extinguished. It continued the life force in his body. There is also the earth spirit bead, emitting divine light to protect his body and resist the invasion of space. Otherwise, if it was someone else, when their true power was exhausted and they were seriously injured, they would have fainted. In a few breaths, they would be twisted into powder by the space turbulence. Even their divine soul would dissipate. He did not know how long he had been wandering in space. Suddenly, the cloud throne under him shook, broke through the void, entered an inexplicable place, and stopped. For a long time, bursts of pain came from his body, causing D. Chertion to wake up from his coma. He opened his eyes with difficulty and glanced around. His body moved, and the boundless pain made him groan. Where is this? I'm not dead. I'm not dead yet. Good, good, good. Even the ancient giants can't kill me easily. D. Chertion regained consciousness, and all of a sudden, he recalled everything that had happened before in his mind. He couldn't help but want to laugh out loud, but it pulled the injuries on his body, and the intense pain made the corner of his mouth twitch a few times subconsciously. Glancing around, he found that the surroundings were hazy, as if shrouded in a mysterious smoke. There was a deathly silence everywhere. There was no sound at all. It was so quiet that it was a little scary. This is not a good place. He immediately came to a conclusion in his mind. There was a strange aura faintly permeating this place. It gave him a rather uncomfortable feeling. However, this was only a slight turn in his mind, and his mind immediately returned to his injuries. He hurriedly checked, and when he saw, the corner of his mouth could not help but reveal a trace of a bitter smile. To be continued. If you want to know what happened next, please go to www.chijian.com. There are more chapters. Support the author. Support the original reading. Chapter 490. This time I've completely fallen. Just one finger and I've fallen to such a state. D. Chertion's face was bitter, but his heart was filled with rage. Great humiliation. This was a great humiliation. To think that he, an ancient demon king, was actually poked down by a finger and fell to such a state of near annihilation. What was this? He didn't even have the qualifications to be valued by the other party. To that person, he was like an ant. He could casually poke him to death. Although this time he escaped with his life, the price he had to pay made D. Chertion grit his teeth secretly, almost unable to bear it. Looking at his body, he saw that his black robes had become tattered and tattered. His body was riddled with wounds that still looked hideous. These wounds contained the power of space. Even with his current powerful demonic body, he was unable to heal them on his own. If not for the wood spirit bead protecting his life, just these wounds alone would have taken his life. If he didn't get rid of the power of space, even the wounds would not be able to heal. What was worse was that the reversal of the cultivation technique caused the damage to his body, which was 100 times, 1,000 times more severe. Under the investigation of his demonic consciousness, countless terrifying cracks appeared on the 4 demonic veins in his body that had already been opened. These cracks were like a spider web, distributed all over the demonic veins. It was as if, with just a light touch, it would immediately shatter into pieces. Once broken, to want to heal again was not a simple matter. His entire body seemed to have shrunk and shriveled up. All the flesh and blood in his body were swallowed up, leaving only his skin and bones connected together. The reversal of the cultivation technique was to turn all the flesh and blood in his body into true power. It seemed to have exhausted all the essence chi in his body. The 5th grade black lotus in the demon refining cauldron was so dim that it did not have a trace of light, becoming incomparably illusory. The black lotus that had been rotating on its own was so slow that it could not be detected. The royal true power in the black lotus was completely exhausted, and it was truly a great loss of vitality. Even a newly born 5th grade black lotus seemed to be showing signs of collapsing and disappearing. Once it collapsed, it meant that the realm would fall. This kind of situation was really like losing 90% of one's life. Only a single breath remained in his body. Lunatic D, what are you still thinking about? Hurry up and heal your wounds. You're already on the verge of death, and your demonic veins are about to break. Source of life, at this moment, only the enormous amount of life essence contained within the source of life can restore the vitality of your exhausted body. Fortunately, you have the seed of life. Otherwise, with such wounds, you won't be able to recover without hundreds of years of rest. Ming woke up, and she was shocked when she saw Chun-Chi's injuries. She immediately urged Chun-Chi to hurry up. The life source seed was not only a necessary treasure to catalyze the source seed of a world, but also the most precious healing treasure in this world. The life essence chi it contained was the purest and most gentle in the world. Absorbing it would not harm a body. Instead, it would nourish the flesh and blood of the body in the most gentle way and strengthen the vitality of the body. Now, Sakura's most fundamental injury was the reversal of his technique, exhausting his own life force and turning it back into true power. His essence chi had dried up, and only a strong life essence chi could replenish it. That's right. Now that everything is settled, the most important thing is to heal your injuries. Di Shirtian nodded to himself. He naturally agreed with Ming's suggestion. With difficulty, he took out a dark green source of life. He directly swallowed it in his mouth. As soon as he swallowed it, he immediately felt that the source of life didn't melt immediately. Instead, as if it had a life of its own, once it entered his body, it immediately turned into a dark green flowing light and shuttled into his heart. He groaned slightly. Thump! The source of life actually fused with the heart, and the heart that was originally beating slowly and weakly actually regained a powerful vitality in an instant. It began to beat vigorously, and the powerful beating sound was like the sound of a drum. Following the beating of the heart, a sticky dark green liquid could be seen flowing through the demonic vein connected to the heart. It was amazing. The demonic veins all over his body were like dry earth after being scorched by the sun. They were covered with countless cracks and would break with a light touch. However, wherever the dark green blood flowed, the ruptured areas would greedily absorb the dark green liquid. Every time it absorbed a little, it could be seen that the cracks were rapidly healing at a speed visible to the naked eye. Life essence chi. Incomparably huge and pure life essence chi. Every time the heart beat, there would be an incomparably pure life essence chi spurting out from the heart. It quickly flowed along the demonic veins to all parts of his body. Wherever it went, under the nourishment of the gentle and pure life essence chi, the cracked parts were healing at an incredible speed. It also flowed along the countless branches of the main demonic veins into the flesh and blood all over the body, nourishing the originally lifeless flesh and blood. Instantly, they saw that Sakura, who was originally all skin and bones, had his entire demonic body inflated rapidly like an inflated balloon. His muscles started to bulge under his skin like dragons. In the blink of an eye, Di Shirtian's strong and burly body recovered once again. Plop, plop. Dense dark green gas spurted out from the 108,000 pores all over his body. They intertwined and quickly weaved into a large dark green cocoon outside of his body. Even a soaring sky throne was wrapped inside. In the cocoon, only the rhythmic sound of a heartbeat could be heard. Slowly, in the surroundings, traces of the power of heaven and earth and the power of desire were constantly sucked into the large cocoon by a strange force. This speed was constantly increasing as time passed. As it became faster, the area it covered also became wider. Slowly, a strange vortex formed in the air above the large cocoon. In the vortex, a huge amount of power of heaven and earth was constantly pouring into the cocoon. The large cocoon did not reject it. No matter how many there were, once they entered the cocoon, they were immediately devoured. Time continued to pass. Time passed like flowing water. In the blink of an eye, a month quietly passed by. Looking at the surrounding scenery, It was indeed as what Sakura had thought. This wasn't a good place. On the ground, there were sinister-looking skeletons that formed a layer of white bones. There were white bones everywhere. Some of them could only be seen as skeletons whose flesh and blood had melted away. Some of them were like mummies whose flesh and blood energy had been depleted. Their eyes were wide open and glowing green. It looked very eerie and terrifying. It was as if they were in hell. There were broken weapons and Dharma treasures everywhere. However, the luster on the surface had long become incomparably dim. The gray color was unusually conspicuous. Obviously, they had lost a lot of their spirituality and were all greatly damaged. The deathly stillness in the air made this place even more eerie and mysterious. It made one's heart tremble involuntarily. Whoosh! A soft sound came from the large cocoon. The originally sturdy large cocoon collapsed without any warning, turning into wisps of green silk. At the same time, the Lingxiao throne and Di Shirtian that were wrapped inside were revealed. As Di Shirtian breathed in and out regularly, all the green silk turned into two lines. They were quickly sucked into his body through his two nostrils. Swoosh! His closed eyes instantly opened. Two beams of light shot out fiercely, piercing 3 feet away, stirring up the air and making a series of stimulating crisp sounds. The abundant essence, Qi, made his body flow with a seemingly solid treasure light. He stood up and moved slightly. A series of crisp crackling sounds came from his body like beans being fried. He spat out a mouthful of turbid air. The source of life is indeed extraordinary. Not only did it heal all the injuries in my body, but it also completely made up for the hidden dangers caused by the reversal of the cultivation method. The essence Qi in his body was unprecedentedly vigorous. Even the demon body was repeatedly tempered. Compared to before, it was more than 10 times stronger. I'm afraid that even if a magic treasure hit me now, it wouldn't be able to break the defense of the demon body. Di Shirtian secretly felt the situation in his body and couldn't help but ponder to himself. Under the magical power of the source of life, his injuries had been completely healed. He was also able to temper his demon body again. Even his demon veins had become incomparably tough. The 5th grade Black Lotus had recovered again, and the royal true force in his body had also recovered to its peak state. Lunatic D, don't be happy too early. You better take a look at where you are now. TSK, we've really hit the jackpot this time. At this moment, the meaningful voice of Ming sounded in his mind. It seemed that there was an inexplicable charm in his words. Yes. Di Shirtian waved his hand and put away the soaring sky throne. He glanced around, and his expression became unusually solemn. Looking at the bones that covered the ground, he said in a deep voice, "Although I don't know where exactly this place is, I'm sure that it's definitely not a good place. I've only felt this kind of eerie and strange feeling in the southern barbarian land of bones. I vaguely feel a strong sense of danger." Ming, could it be that you know where this place is? Di Shirtian was sensitive enough to sense the hidden meaning in Ming's words. Hee. Ming laughed strangely. His 2 dragon eyes scanned the surroundings, and his eyes flickered with excitement. He shouted, "Lunatic D, do you still remember that I told you about the 9 great forbidden lands on the Source Continent?" "That's right." Di Shirtian nodded and said, "You mentioned it before, but you only mentioned a few of them. Tong Tian Tower, Forbidden Lands, Heaven's Gate Forbidden Lands, and Limitless Realm. Could it be that this is one of them?" Di Shirtian's heart thumped, and he vaguely had a bad feeling. The 9 great forbidden lands. Those were all forbidden lands where gods would die if they entered, and demons would fall if they entered. Could it be that I'm really unlucky enough to enter one of the 9 great forbidden lands? Di Shirtian thought to himself. Although he really wanted to enter the 9 great forbidden lands, he had to enter the Heaven's Gate Forbidden Lands just to build the Demon City and obtain the 4 Heaven's Gate Forbidden Lands. But the problem was that he didn't want to enter the Forbidden Lands at this moment. With the cultivation of an ancient demon king, he didn't want to enter the Forbidden Lands. Wouldn't that be a narrow escape? However, It was clear that his premonition had come true. Ming laughed strangely and said, "If I'm not wrong, this should be the most special place among the 9 great forbidden lands, and it's called the God's Fall Abyss. Brothers, please help me. The weather has been cold recently. Try to update in advance." Chapter 491. Godfall Abyss? Was it one of the 9 great forbidden lands? Dark, what's so special about this place that it can actually squeeze into the 9 great forbidden lands? After Indra heard this, his eyes quickly flashed with a wisp of light. He instinctively felt that something was wrong. The 9 great forbidden lands were all different from the others and extremely dangerous. The heaven-reaching tower had an unknown number of floors. Every floor up was like ascending to the heavens. There were ferocious, savage beasts everywhere. While it was possible to enter, it was extremely difficult to exit. If one were to encounter a ferocious, savage beast king, one would be chased to the ends of the earth. He had experienced this personally. The Heaven Gate Forbidden Lands. There were actually 4 heaven gates, each of which was a top innate spiritual treasure. One could infer that the danger inside was definitely not lower than that of heaven-reaching tower. Otherwise, it would not have been called one of the 9 great forbidden lands. The restricted area was even more terrifying. There were boundless restrictions everywhere within it, and it was simply impossible to take a single step forward. The slightest mistake would cause one to be swept up by the countless restrictions and be blasted into bits on the spot. If one encountered a formidable divine restriction, TSK, then one would truly be consigned to eternal damnation and forever unable to ascend. Among these places, perhaps only the limitless desire realm was slightly less dangerous for the Sakra. With his ability to absorb the power of desire to form his demon meridians, if he was careful, he might be able to venture inside. As for the other places, with his current cultivation, he had never thought of them. As the saying goes, a flower planted with the intention to not bloom, but a willow planted without the intention to grow. He had deliberately put aside the matter of the 9 great forbidden lands for the future. He did not expect to accidentally fall into the God's Fall Abyss, which was also one of the 9 great forbidden lands. Not to mention it, just by hearing the 2 words "perish God" in this forbidden area, Sakura could feel the danger contained in it. Speaking of which, there was one thing that he did not know. The Imperial Heavenly Treasure Box in his hand was brought out of the God's Fall Abyss by who back then? Hence, by who had been severely injured. His achievements today were also inextricably linked to the Imperial Heavenly Treasure Box. Of course it's special. Ming spoke with a slightly yearning tone. This isn't just a place of danger, it's also a place of treasure. What do you mean? Di Shirtian raised his eyebrows and asked. On the Origin Continent, there are 9 forbidden lands. Every single one of them can drive the world crazy and cause countless experts to fall for them. All of them have connate spirit treasures in their depths. It lured thousands of strong cultivators to risk their lives and rush forward wave after wave like moths to a flame. There were also treasures in the God's Fall Abyss. There were natural spiritual treasures. Furthermore, it is the most unique and miraculous kind in the world. Every expert yearns for it, Dark said. Every expert yearns for it. Because in this abyss, there's a basin and a tree. A basin? A tree? Di Shirtian muttered to himself. He couldn't understand what it meant. Basins are treasure basins. Trees are money trees. Treasure basin? A money tree? Even though Di Shirtian was confident that his temperament and cultivation had reached a certain level, he still couldn't help but be completely shocked. There was no other reason. It was just that these 2 things were too famous. They were so famous that they had never been seen before. In his previous life, he had never heard of the names of these 2 items. There were actually 2 connate spirit treasures here. Just by thinking about their names, one could figure out their miraculous effects. Sure enough, Ming continued, TSK. That's right. These 2 treasures are also spirit treasures that fell from the chaos at the beginning of the world. The treasure basin can gather all the ownerless treasures and rare treasures in the world. Hanging on the money tree are all rare treasures that are hard to find in the world. This treasure basin and money tree were complementary to each other. It is said that the money tree is planted in the treasure basin. The treasures attracted by the treasure basin from all the worlds will be hung on the money tree. As he spoke, even his own saliva started to flow out of his mouth. After listening, Di Shirtian's eyes lit up. Indeed, it was because of these two treasures that the Godfall Abyss was called one of the 9 great forbidden lands. Among them, the treasure basin itself had the magical power of gathering treasures. It was entrenched in the abyss, and every 100 years, it would absorb a large number of ownerless treasures from the surrounding 3,000 small worlds and enter the abyss, directly hanging them on the money tree. Every 1,000 years, it would absorb ownerless treasures from the land of origin. Every 3,000 years, the power of the treasure basin would cover all the worlds, and all the ownerless treasures would automatically fly into the basin. It was said that some lucky people had seen the treasure basin and the money tree. The treasure basin was extremely huge and contained countless rare treasures. Those that could fall into the basin were all rare treasures in the world. For example, spirit stones couldn't even enter the treasure basin. The basin was filled with the divine meteorite iron, sun and moon essence gold, star sand, fortune jade, 7 orifices exquisite stone, water-repelling pearl, dust-repelling pearl, poison-repelling pearl, gold-plated jade, ice crystal heavenly cloud silk, rainbow shadow pearl, snow cloud mother jade, heavenly soul gold, 7-color creation stone, primordial light dust, mysterious universe spirit pearl, clear soul dew, world purifying glass jade, nether extinction crystal, chaos ice, and void. Silk. Wait. Endless treasures, gathered in the basin, used as soil. There were all kinds of unimaginable treasures hanging on a money tree that was as tall as 10,000 feet. With a casual shake, the treasures that fell from the tree were enough to make any expert faint on the spot with excitement. It would be a lifelong honor to be buried by the treasures. If anyone could grab a few of the treasures in the treasure basin and the money tree, it could be said that he would immediately become rich overnight when he got out. How could such a place not attract experts from all sides, who would come one after another regardless of their lives? However, thinking about it, many people went in, but those who could really get benefits and get out safely were few and far between. Since there's a treasure basin and a money tree here, logically speaking, a large number of experts would come in, and this place could be regarded as a treasure land. How could it become one of the 9 great forbidden lands? It's easy to enter, but difficult to get out. Most of them are dead, Di Shirtian said as he scanned the skeletons around. Feeling the strange aura in the air, he frowned and said, "Could it be that there are other dangers in this abyss?" He instinctively felt that something was wrong. If there was a treasure basin and a money tree, this place would have been a famous treasure hunting place. How could it become a dangerous place? There must be some inside story behind it. Of course, it's not that simple. The reason why countless experts are so afraid is that this place is not only a treasure land where countless treasures are gathered, but also a tomb. A tomb. Nether's tone had become somewhat deep. Tomb? Tomb? The expression in Di Shirtian's eyes gradually became serious. Just by hearing these 2 words, he could clearly feel that this Godfall Abyss was not a good place as imagined. Tombs and tombs were places where the dead were buried. How could they be used here? This place is a tomb, Ming said in a serious voice. The treasure basin is miraculous, and its might covers the entire universe. The objects it gathers treasures are not limited to those ownerless precious treasures. It also gathers countless broken divine weapons, damaged magical treasures, and damaged precious treasures. Precious treasures will be attracted to the treasure basin and the money tree to the treasure basin and the money tree. As for those broken divine weapons, magic treasures, and abandoned weapons, they will all be abandoned outside the treasure basin and the money tree. They will be scattered throughout the abyss. Therefore, this is a treasure land and also a tomb. It is a treasure land, a tomb of treasures, and a tomb of broken divine weapons and magic treasures. No matter what kind of divine weapon or magic treasure it is, there's more or less a trace of spirituality in it. The stronger the spirituality, the higher the quality of the weapon. Usually, broken divine weapons and magic treasures will be abandoned. Divine weapons that have lost their owners will produce a kind of resentment and a kind of death intent. If one or two weapons are gathered together, it may not be a big deal. But if there are tens of thousands of weapons, hundreds of millions of weapons, and countless weapons, they will accumulate over countless years. The accumulated resentment, the killing intent of the weapon itself, the endless sadness of being abandoned, and the unyielding will of unwillingness. It will form a terrifying existence. Soldier's soul. 2 words were carefully spat out from Nether's mouth. Soldier's soul? Sakura's gaze focused, and he understood tacitly. You're saying that it's a unique existence condensed from the unyielding obsessions of countless broken divine weapons and magical treasures. How strong is the soldier's soul? D. Shirtian immediately pointed at the most important point. Very strong. Ming was not joking at this moment. He said seriously, the soldier's soul is divided into 4 grades: heaven, earth, black, and yellow. The yellow grade is comparable to the ancient demon king. The black grade is comparable to the demon saint. The earth grade is comparable to the ancient giants and honorables. As for the heaven grade, it is comparable to the strongest, the demon god of the demon clan and the ancestor god of the cultivation world. As for whether there is a stronger one above the heaven grade, there is no way to know. Moreover, the soldier's soul is formed by the soul fragments of divine weapons and magic treasures. It is born to kill. Because of the resentment in its body, the soldier's soul does not want anyone to take any treasure from the God's Fall Abyss. The most interesting thing is that as long as you don't take the rare treasures in the Abyss, you can directly see the legendary treasure bowl and money tree as long as you are lucky. In front of the money tree, if you can resist the temptation in your heart and turn around to leave, you can leave safely. Even the soldier's soul won't be disturbed. Unfortunately, who would not be tempted in the face of so many treasures? Ming sighed with emotion. Ming, are you saying that the treasure bowl can gather any ownerless treasures in the world? Do you think it will take your body, the Book of Ming, and bring it here with you? The thoughts in Sakura's mind turned, and he suddenly said, WHW what? Dark was stunned. If you have the ability, please help me subscribe. For authors, subscriptions are the source of motivation. Only with motivation can I write more and better chapters. I believe that the myriad demons will persevere under everyone's care. Chapter 492. My Main Body, Underworld Book. Underworld's 2 dragon eyes couldn't help but stare blankly after hearing this. Although it had been talking nonstop, it really didn't think about this aspect and couldn't help but be stunned. It's possible, it's really possible. Maybe my main body, the Underworld Book, was really sucked here by the treasure basin. After thinking for a while, Underworld couldn't help but become excited. It was the soul of the Underworld Book back then, but it was inexplicably tricked by someone. Not only was it sealed in the divine eye of heaven's punishment, but even the Underworld Book seemed to be torn apart page by page. The Underworld Book had 18 levels of purgatory, and each page was a level. Therefore, there were a total of 18 pages in the Underworld Book, and it was unknown how many parts it was divided into. If it was really possible, with the magic of the treasure basin, it might really be sucked into the God's Fall Abyss. How could it not be excited when it thought of this? The Underworld Book was its main body. Once it could get the Underworld Book back, with the power of the Underworld Book, it could quickly recover its original strength in the shortest time possible. Once it recovered to its peak, with the power of the Underworld Book, even if it was an ancient giant or a venerable expert, it wouldn't take it seriously. How could it be like now, humiliated by being poked into the ground by a finger, and even jumped into the forbidden area of the God's Fall Abyss? It would directly kill his grandma. However, after the excitement, Underworld became strangely silent. After a long silence, it said, "Lunatic D, it's better to leave this place as soon as possible. With the power of my main body's underworld book and the ability of those old farts who imprison me in the divine punishment, they will definitely seal my main body. The treasure basin shouldn't be able to absorb it. As long as we don't disturb the soldier souls here, it shouldn't be difficult to leave." The voice was very calm. As usual. Leave? Why the rush to leave? A meaningful look flashed in Sakra's eyes. With his willpower, it only took him a second to realize the reason why Ming suddenly changed the topic. It was none other than the fear that he would rashly touch the treasure bowl and the money tree. If there was really a book of Ming on it, and he couldn't help but take it down, he would immediately be mercilessly chased by the soldier's soul. He was afraid that he would perish in this abyss. He could sense all of this, but it didn't mean that he had to shrink back. On the contrary, his curiosity towards the treasure bowl and money tree was no less than anyone else's. He said indifferently, "Since I've had the opportunity to enter the Godfall abyss, wouldn't it be a pity if I left without witnessing the glory of the treasure bowl and money tree with my own eyes?" Lunatic D. There was an indescribable light in Dark's eyes. Both Dark and Tion were intelligent people. Some words didn't need to be spoken, and they could understand it in their hearts. She didn't say much, only burying the gratitude deep in her heart. "By the way, how is my mother now?" Tion's voice changed as he placed his attention on his mother White Tiger. With a thought, a purple light flashed from the purple mark between his brows. Instantly, his mother White Tiger's huge body appeared in front of him. Looking at the White Tiger mother's wings and the natural pressure that came with the awakening of a divine beast bloodline, there was a faint feeling of power without being angry. However, the feeling of unfamiliarity that Elder Feng had when he'd taken over her body had completely disappeared. Instead, it was replaced by a strong feeling of kinship. The feeling of being connected by blood made Tion feel waves of warmth in his heart. "Mother, this was the aura of a mother. You don't have to worry too much about your mother. You arrived in time. When you arrived at the Thousand Beasts sect, that despicable person had only begun to take over your mother's body. He temporarily sealed your mother's soul in her sea of consciousness. Once the seal is broken, she can recover. However, your mother was clearly subjected to some sinister secret technique in the Thousand Beasts sect. I've observed carefully and found that your mother's soul is filled with violent and murderous thoughts. Her original consciousness has completely fallen into a state of chaos. Her state of mind is 100 times worse than the Azure Phoenix swordsman you've subdued." When Ming spoke, there was a hint of anger in his voice. In fact, when the White Tiger was taken into the underworld prison, it had already carefully examined her and found that her consciousness was already in chaos. Her soul was filled with violent and murderous thoughts. Not to mention that her mind was not clear. Once the seal on her soul was broken and she recovered, she would immediately become the same as when she was in the Thousand Beasts sect. No matter what she saw, she would explode with a strong, murderous intent. There was no rationality to speak of. The Thousand Beasts sect had raised the White Tiger for the purpose of taking over her body. They were truly ruthless to the White Tiger. They almost didn't prepare to let her recover her consciousness. This was a big problem. This seal was not broken, but it was also not broken. Putting it here, it was a little difficult. The Thousand Beasts sect. Tion's eyes turned cold, and a violent, murderous intent surged in his heart. He said in a cold voice, "Although the mountain gate was destroyed this time, there's obviously a world behind the Thousand Beasts sect. What was cut off was only the tip of the iceberg. A large number of tribulation stage experts in the sect have already left. In the future, if this debt is not settled, how can the hatred in my heart be appeased? The Thousand Beasts sect, I want to exterminate the Thousand Beasts sect." A strong, murderous intent flashed across his face. In short, he was not finished with the Thousand Beasts sect. Unless one of them was completely exterminated, this debt was deeper than the sea and higher than the sky. When his gaze fell on the White Tiger, it became gentle. With a thought, he took her back into the divine eye of heaven's punishment. In this place, only the divine eye was the safest. It was difficult for any force to destroy it. He thought to himself, if it is only the mind that is affected and the memory is not completely erased with the magical effect of the heart-cleansing Bodhi song, it should be useful for Mother. However, Mother's situation is 100 times more serious than Qing Xia and the others. Perhaps even the heart-cleansing Bodhi song can't completely remove the hidden danger in a short time. Now in the Godfall Abyss, it was obviously not the time to save the white tiger. In the divine eye, keeping her in a state of deep sleep was the only thing that could be done. Let's go. I want to see the magic of the treasure bowl and the money tree with my own eyes. With a wave of his hand, he took the numinous sky thrown into his body. He looked around, but the piles of bones could not shake his mind. Tiger's soul returned to the sheath, and his right hand was always in the position where it was easiest to pull out the knife. He had changed into a clean black robe. The black hair behind his head fluttered in the wind, and his eyes swept around like lightning. Crack, crack. As he stepped on the piles of bones, the crisp sound of bones breaking continuously rang in his ears. In this quiet environment, it was especially eerie. Vaguely, it seemed that there were countless pairs of eyes silently staring at him in the dark. Unconsciously, it made his hair stand on end. It's too quiet here. Could it be that all the soldier souls in the Godfall Abyss are in deep sleep? Di Tian said in his mind. Not everyone will come to this place. Although each of the 9 great forbidden lands is on the source continent, they are all connected to the other worlds. No matter which world it is, there will always be an entrance to it. However, those entrances are constantly changing, and it's difficult to find them. As for the soldier souls, most of the time they are in deep sleep, but once they sense that someone has touched the treasure, they will wake up. Generally speaking, it's normal for this place to be quiet. Once it becomes lively, it means that endless slaughter is about to happen. Dark side, go away. Get out of my way. This source seed is mine. No one can take it away from me. With it, I can have a small world. Inner world. Suddenly, just as they were talking, a roar that clearly carried a crazy charm came from the southwest direction, not far away. The owner of the voice seemed to have fallen into a kind of madness. TSK. Someone dares to touch the treasure of the treasure bowl and the money tree. Is it the source seed of the world? Quick, lunatic D, go and take a look. Maybe you can see the soldier souls. Nether shouted excitedly. Good, good. He urged him to go and see what was going on. It's really a treasure bowl. It can even take the source seed of the world. What an incredible, innate spiritual treasure. Sakura secretly muttered in his heart, but his feet didn't have the slightest bit of hesitation as he silently swept through the air, rushing in the direction of the sound. In the abyss, there was a strange miasma everywhere. The place that one could see was not too far away, but the terrain was not completely flat. There were ups and downs, trees, mountains, and rivers. It was just that compared to the outside world, it was quite different. Now that he had made multiple breakthroughs and reached the 4th transformation of the Yaokor realm, he had the help of the quintessence energy from the seed of life. His cultivation base was now more than 10 times stronger than before. As he moved, he didn't make the slightest sound as he shot forward like a bolt of lightning. As he neared, he dove into the branches of an ancient tree, where he hid behind it and peered into the distance. Hiss! With just a glance, he couldn't help but suck in a breath of cold air. A middle-aged cultivator was holding a crystal-like seed with a look of ecstasy on his face. Above his head hung a seemingly substantial painting. In the painting, a series of graceful and beautiful women were smiling as if they were alive. They flew out from the painting and condensed into a physical form with ribbons dancing around them. The middle-aged cultivator was protected in the middle. As the ribbons danced, the surrounding space twisted strangely. It was as if it had become an independent world in an instant. Domain, 9 Beauties painting. To be able to condense into a body, this domain had reached the mysterious grade. This was a powerhouse above the tribulation stage. However, This wasn't what made Sakura calm down. What really made his expression change was that soldier soul. I'm trying to write the third chapter to see if I can write more. However, the weather is too cold. It's already 2 or 3 degrees below zero. My 10 fingers are frozen. I can't hold on any longer. I can't guarantee that I'll complete it, but I can only try my best. So, there's no need to keep waiting. Chapter 493. Puff, puff, puff. In the surroundings, there were countless broken swords stabbed into the ground. The shapes of the swords were strange, but most of them were incomparably dim. They emitted a desolate, deathly aura, as well as an unyielding determination to kill. Walking into this place, one's mind would be affected unconsciously. It was very strange. Judging by the appearance of these swords, no one would be willing to touch them. They were too broken. However, these swords seemed to be attracted by something in an instant. They woke up from their slumber and began to tremble violently. Strands of sword chi shot out from the swords. Within the sword chi, there was a mysterious intent. It was a pure intent to kill. Countless strands of sword chi gathered together, forming a terrifying sword chi vortex. Clang! A resounding sword sound broke the silence of the abyss. Boundless sword chi gathered in one place. When all the sword chi disappeared, an ancient blood-red sword appeared in front of everyone's eyes. Inside the sword, blood-red light was flowing, rippling in circles. It seemed that even the air around it was rippling. The strangest thing was that there were noses, eyes, and mouths on the sword. It looked like a person who was smashed flat. It sent chills down one's spine. It was as if it was a different kind of life form. This is the soldier's soul. Tion suppressed the shock in his heart and swallowed a mouthful of saliva. Although he was quite knowledgeable, he had never thought that there would be such a strange existence in this world. This is the yellow-grayed soldier soul. It can form into all kinds of weapons and treasures. It's almost the same as a real divine weapon. However, it can't be too far away from the swords. When it reaches the black grade, it can form into the shape of a human or other ferocious beasts. Don't be fooled by its strange appearance. It's quite powerful. It can move freely. The source seed of the world in that cultivator's hand must have been obtained from the abyss. It's very difficult to escape. Ming glanced at it and spoke in an unsurprised manner. Obviously, it had seen the appearance of this weapon soul since a long time ago. The world source seed is mine. No one could take it away from me. A mere soldier's soul can't hurt me. I can get the treasure. I have the mandate of heaven. Myriad demons devouring souls. The middle-aged cultivator's eyes lit up when he saw the soldier's soul. He laughed maniacally, and his body shook. Demonic chi billowed out from his body and condensed into ferocious skulls that pounced on the soldier's soul. The 9 beauties circled around him. Colorful ribbons fluttered in the air, covering him completely. Even the space around him was distorted. The ribbons could be soft or hard. When they were soft, they were like water, causing countless ripples in the air. When they were hard, they were like the sharpest blades, cutting countless strange cracks in the void. It was already an independent space. Clang! The soldier's soul's blood-red eyes glowed with intense, killing intent. When it saw the world source seed in the middle-aged cultivator's hand, it became agitated. He swung his sword forward. Countless blood-red sword lights shot out in a frenzy, filling the entire void in an instant. Wherever the sword lights passed, the void trembled incessantly. The devils that emerged from the cultivators were immediately turned into dust by the sharp and terrifying sword chi. Wherever it passed, all living things were annihilated. Charge! 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 The sword rays were as fast as lightning and carried with them boundless killing intent. They were terrifyingly sharp. In the blink of an eye, they arrived in front of the middle-aged cultivator's domain and slammed into it. Instantly, terrifying rumbling sounds rang out in the surroundings of the domain. In an instant, it was as though the entire space was trembling violently. The 9 supreme beauties within the domain immediately began to dance. Colorful ribbons fluttered in the air, emitting a mysterious energy that prevented the domain from being broken. At the same time, the blood-red sword rays were sucked into the domain and destroyed bit by bit. It seemed to be able to withstand the countless sword rays. However, the soldier soul was instantly enraged. Its entire body was wrapped in a blood-red light. It streaked across the void and pierced towards the middle-aged cultivator's heart at an incredible speed. This time, it was no longer the sword rays, but the soldier soul's actual body that was attacking. Even in Sakra's eyes, he could only see a blood-red sharp light flashing past his eyes and appearing in front of the domain. In an instant, the sword pierced through the domain and broke the domain's defense. Thousands of blood-red sword lights burst out and wreaked havoc in the domain. The 9 beauties in the domain were twisted into pieces on the spot. Then, a blood-red light pierced through the middle-aged cultivator's heart. Even the demonic robe he was wearing was instantly torn apart. A fist-sized hole appeared where his heart was. It went from his chest all the way to his back. The middle-aged cultivator's maniacal laughter came to a halt. His eyes went blank, and his body stiffened as he fell to the ground. One sword to break all laws. Dishirtian's eyes narrowed. With the power of the heavenly punishment divine eye, he could clearly see every movement of the soldier soul. Concise. It was incomparably concise. Any attack in front of the soldier soul seemed to be the most insignificant. Under the sword, it would break, break, break. No matter how many techniques you have, I only need to wave my sword to break them all. Sharpness. It was a sword of slaughter that was unstoppable and indomitable. It was a sword of slaughter that contained only the most basic of essences. It used the simplest method to carry out slaughter. This was power. This was a sword Tao of slaughter. The soldier soul's attack was like the legendary technique that only sword cultivators at the peak of their cultivation could comprehend. There was nothing fancy about it. The domain was broken by the sword. The defensive Dharma artifact was pierced by the sword. Even the body and the primordial spirit within it were completely crushed. They couldn't be more dead. The soldier's soul was simply a weapon of slaughter. Crash. After the soldier's soul killed the cultivator, its body mysteriously dissipated into countless sword chi and returned to the broken battle swords. The battle swords on the ground also calmed down. However, the sense of death it exuded was still quite strong. It looked very strange. If one didn't see it with their own eyes, no one would have thought that such a terrifying soldier soul would appear here and kill a tribulation-passing cultivator in an instant. Whoosh! Lunatic D, look. At this moment, there was a crisp sound in front of him. He quickly looked over and saw that the source seed of the world that was in the middle-aged cultivator's hand was shining with a sparkling light after he died. It escaped to the center of the Godfall abyss. It seemed to be pulled by a strange force. This is the treasure basin absorbing the treasure. Once the middle-aged cultivator died, the source seed would be taken back to the treasure basin without an owner. If we follow it, we'll definitely find the treasure basin and the money tree. Dishirtian's eyes flashed. He immediately understood. No, I suspect that it's time for the treasure basin to absorb the treasures without an owner every 3,000 years. If that's the case, there must be countless experts inside and outside the Godfall abyss, waiting for the moment when the treasure basin takes all the treasures in the universe. While Ming was talking, he suddenly thought of a possibility. A strange look appeared in his eyes. Quick, quick, lunatic D, take that cultivator's divine soul into the infernal prison. There should be a trace of his divine soul left in his body. Maybe we can find out the general situation from him. The soldier soul's attack was too terrifying. The way it attacked was the kind of method that could break all techniques with one sword. When thousands of sword chi attacked his body, it had already crushed his divine soul. However, the shattered divine soul shouldn't dissipate immediately. Indra didn't hesitate and faced the corpse that had fallen on the ground. The purple mark between his eyebrows flashed and landed on the corpse. Suddenly, an incomparably illusory remnant soul was forcefully pulled out from the corpse. Take! With a soft cry, the divine soul didn't resist at all. It immediately flew into the divine eye of punishment. Soul search. More than half of the divine soul was broken. It was so illusory that it looked like it would disappear at any time. There was no power left. As soon as Ming entered the infernal prison, he immediately used the soul search art. In a moment, his expression became somewhat grave. TSK, Lunatic D, we've hit the jackpot this time. I was right. This is indeed the million treasures crimson tide that occurs once every 3,000 years. What's the million treasures crimson tide? D. Shirtian raised an eyebrow, instinctively feeling that something was wrong. Every 100 years, the treasure basin will absorb unowned treasures nearby. Every 1,000 years, its power will envelop the land of origin. Every 3,000 years, the power of the treasure basin will cover all the worlds. Every 3,000 years, the treasures drawn by the power of the treasure basin will be as vast as the ocean. It's like a tide of treasures rolling. What surges inside is not a tide, but countless rare treasures. Such a day has come again. In the God's Fall Abyss, any treasure that falls into the treasure basin or the money tree will be contaminated by the aura of the two natural spirit treasures. Therefore, no matter who it is, as long as they take the treasure from the treasure basin or the money tree and leave, they will alarm the soldier's soul. They will be hunted down almost unstoppably. The only chance to obtain treasures from the God's Fall Abyss is the time every 100, 1,000, or 3,000 years. At that time, the treasures that were attracted from the universe did not fall into the treasure bowl or the money tree. Therefore, they were not contaminated by their auras. Even if they obtained the treasures, there was a great chance that they would be able to leave without alarming the soldiers. It's a grand occasion. No wonder all the cultivators above the tribulation transcendence level in the world of cultivators have left their sections. They're all looking for the entrance to the God's Fall Abyss. They're waiting for the arrival of the million treasures crimson tide. That's crazy. They gathered the power of the entire world of cultivators to set up the connate Yin-Yang dust formation to stabilize the God's Fall Abyss. Oh my God! While reading the cultivator's memories, Dark suddenly screamed without a care for his image. He looked like he was about to jump up and down. To be continued. If you want to know what happens next, please go to www.chijian.com. There are more chapters. I support the author, and I support the original readers. Chapter 494. The God's Fall Abyss is always moving. It hides in the void. Every time it moves, the entrance changes. Only those who are really lucky can enter it. It's not fixed at any place. It's extremely difficult to calculate the fate of the heavens. Even if a peerless expert wants to enter, he or she would have to use their divine consciousness to search the universe for the entrance. But this time it's fixed. The connate Yin-Yang dust formation. Oh my God! This is an ancient formation. Once it's used, it can turn into a golden bridge and fix the void. But it requires the Tai Chi diagram as the eye of the formation. Fixing the fallen god abyss? My God, this is an unprecedented amount of money. Who is it? Who is so bold? Aren't they afraid of angering the heaven-level soldier soul in the abyss? Dark was about to go crazy. Its two dragon eyes were flashing with insanity. Crazy? They're F***king crazy. They even dared to fix the fallen god abyss. This wasn't normal madness. They're indeed crazy. D. Shirtian's eyes glittered and all kinds of thoughts flashed through his mind. He suddenly said, "They fixed the fallen god abyss. If I'm not wrong, it must be because of the million treasures red tide." The crimson tide contained countless rare treasures that had drifted down from all over the universe. Their purpose must have been for the treasures that were almost as huge as a tsunami. If they can get those treasures, it'll be a huge fortune. Think about it, the treasures that came like a tsunami. How much wealth would that be? Even a peerless powerhouse would be crushed to death by it. There were as many treasures as a tsunami. Just imagining it in one's mind was enough to make people completely crazy. If anyone could obtain it, they would immediately become the richest person in the entire universe. Then, if he wanted to establish a force or a sect, he would definitely have a meteoric rise and reach the heavens in a single bound. This time, the entire world of cultivators was trying to get the rare treasures that should have been sucked into the fallen god abyss. Once they got it, the entire world of cultivators would rise to the top. Countless overlords would be born, and they would have endless resources. How could this be an ordinary thing? This was an important matter that would last for thousands of years. No wonder the immortal cultivators would immediately leave once they reached the tribulation stage. It turns out that they were all doing this earth-shattering thing. No wonder they would compromise with us demons and sign an agreement for the immortal demon competition to release most of the demons. It turns out that all their energy is on this million treasures crimson tide. Tion had many things that he could not understand in the past, but at this moment, it was as if the clouds had parted to reveal the bright moon. As long as they succeeded this time, the immortal cultivation world, whose strength had greatly increased, would definitely tear up the non-binding agreement. After their strength had greatly increased, it would be easy for them to turn around and deal with the demon clan. Opportunity. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. If Lunatic D could seize this opportunity, the construction of the myriad demon city and the cultivation of experts would be a piece of cake. This is rare. This is a great opportunity that is hard to come by. In the Wansho sect, you were poked into the ground by that finger. At that time, you felt that you had hit something. It must have been when the God's Fall Abyss was fixed by the formation, which caused the space between heaven and earth to change. That was why it twisted and brought you here. Great luck. This is great luck. The place where you came in must be the weakest area between the God's Fall Abyss and the purple gold continent. It can open up a passage between the two places. Even if the million treasures crimson tide really comes, it will definitely affect the entire God's Fall Abyss. In the Abyss, even the group of cultivators who temporarily fix the Abyss can't occupy all the areas. If you take advantage of this time to get a foot in here and make a big profit, the construction of the myriad demon city will be sped up by dozens or even hundreds of times. Lunatic D. Fortune comes from danger. Tion listened to Dark's constant nagging in his mind. His eyes flashed, and various thoughts flashed through his mind. He was thinking about how much benefit he could get if he did that. After a while, his slightly drooping eyes suddenly opened. Light shot out 3 meters away. A decisive look appeared between his brows. He said with a hint of madness, "That's right. If I don't take what the heavens give me, I will be punished. The heavens have sent such a great opportunity to me. How can I give it up so easily?" Although fortune and misfortune come together, fortune comes from danger. What's the point of being overcautious? Let's leave the God's Fall Abyss immediately. Sakura made up his mind and didn't have any more hesitation. He turned around and rushed back to the area where he came from. That was the place where he first landed. If the God's Fall Abyss was really temporarily fixed, it would not continue to move. In this case, if he broke through the void from there, he should be able to return to the purple gold continent and enter the Wansho sect. Go back. Go back for what? Of course, he would bring all his subordinates from the Southern Barbarian. He also had to bring the Linglong treasure pagoda with him. In the scene where treasures were rolling like a tsunami, the Linglong treasure pagoda's ability to absorb a large number of treasures was the best. But the Southern Barbarian? No. How could he let the human cultivators enjoy such a lively scene alone? The 8 Demon Kings. Each of them was a huge force. With the Heavenly Thunder platform and the Purple Thunder Rain secret technique, the number of demons behind each Demon King would definitely increase by several times. If all of them gathered together, it would not be a problem to enter the God's Fall Abyss together. At that time, not only would he do a favor, but he would also be able to spread his name among the Demon Clan. The whole Demon Clan would become strong. That was the real strength. He knew that he could not swallow such a big cake alone. Dark, when will the million treasure red tide begin? Tian's figure shuttled through the air as fast as lightning, returning the way he came. The Million Treasure Red Tide usually takes 9 months to brew. It shouldn't take that long now, but at least 5 to 6 months. Nether said after a brief estimation. 6 months? That should be enough. Tion thought for a while and nodded. Not long after, he returned to the area where he was healing. Looking at the gray miasma around him, divine light flashed between his eyebrows. He opened the Heavenly Punishment Divine Eye and used the Divine Eye to break through illusions. He instantly found the weakest point of the abyss space and split open a crack with the tiger soul. He squeezed into the crack and sat upright on the throne. Void travel. The thousands of spatial fragments were all blocked by the canopy formed by the throne. The Wansho sect. The market at the foot of the mountain was crowded with people. It was more lively than some immortal cultivation cities. The place was big enough to accommodate millions of people. There were all kinds of businesses. Speaking of which, I personally witnessed the Tion Fa Demon King coming to seek revenge. TSK. How is that a demon king? He is even more powerful than a greater demon. You guys don't know, but when he used his Tiger Soul Saber to display his supreme battle skill, he actually condensed an emperor. He held a jade seal in his hand, and when the jade seal smashed down, it broke the grand defensive formation. Even individual immortals didn't dare to block his attack. In my opinion, the Demon King of Tion Fa's strength must be the top among the 8 Demon Kings. Isn't that so? That eye is also very powerful. I've never heard of any divine ability that could cause one's cultivation to drop along with one's cultivation. If one were to encounter others, it would be fine if one were to be heavily injured. However, if one were to cause one's cultivation to drop as well, that would be too terrifying. I don't know if the Demon King of Tion Fa is dead or alive now. That day, he was stabbed into the ground by a finger. He must have angered some powerful expert. In the restaurants and the market, all kinds of discussions still revolved around the annihilation of a sect that happened here some time ago. Everyone was very interested. Until now, it had not cooled down. In one of the private rooms in the restaurant, a young man with a handsome appearance that was somewhat demonic sat alone. He continuously poured cup after cup of aged wine into his mouth. A faint evil aura hung at the corner of his mouth. His long and slender fingers were extremely white. However, there was a head of long blood-red hair behind his head. On the blood-red hair, there was a faint blood-red light flowing, and there were countless fierce souls roaring inside. It moved without wind, like a layer of blood-red waves drifting up and down. He listened attentively to the various discussions around him. Interesting, really interesting. I remember that among the peerless experts who destroyed my divine soul, the most were from the Demon Clan. However, the Demon Clan also lost many experts. If I didn't have a backup plan and sent a blood god seed into the sky-reaching tower as a precaution, I might have been killed by those lunatics of the Demon Clan. TSK. Although the Demon Clan could resist my Demon God Clan, I didn't expect that they would be defeated by a group of ants from the Human Clan. It's really interesting. The Demon Clan has declined. Let's see what the Human Clan can do to stop the next calamity. The blood-haired young man laughed mockingly. His eyes were filled with blood-red light as he said, "To be able to knock down your cultivation, this eye is rather interesting. His name is Sakura. It seems like this god really has no choice but to meet you. Let's see if the Demon Clan has really declined completely." He shook the wine in his cup, and it turned blood-red. He drank it all in one gulp. "Sir, the wine you wanted is here." The door of the private room was pushed open, and a cultivator dressed as a waiter walked in with wine. However, before he could see clearly, he saw a blood-red light suddenly pass through his body. Then, he didn't know anything. The blood of the creatures on the purple gold continent is far more fragrant than that of my hometown. It's really delicious. The blood-red-haired young man had already walked out of the door, and the waiter had mysteriously disappeared. On the ground, a blood-red strand of hair flew through the air and landed behind his head, becoming one of the strands of hair. On a mountain not far from the Thousand Beasts sect, Tion, dressed in a black robe, carried the tiger's soul on his back and looked around. When he saw the destroyed sect, A cold light flashed in his eyes. It's a pity that the finger fell and destroyed the illusory door leading to the Thousand Beasts realm. Otherwise, oomph. He glanced around and didn't stay here for long. He summoned the Lingshao throne and sat on it. He withdrew his aura and hid in the void and rushed to the southern wilderness as quickly as possible. To be continued. If you want to know what will happen next, please go to www.chijian.com. There are more chapters. Support the author. Support the original reading. Chapter 495. As for the owner of that finger, Sakura had always been brooding in his heart. Such a strong person was at least a venerable. Based on his past experience, the possibility of offending a strong person at the level of a venerable was not much. Could it be the original body of the clone that was suppressed in the Tongtian Tower back then? Or is there some powerful powerhouse behind the Thousand Beasts sect? Otherwise, it's impossible for me to have any interaction with a venerable at any other time. Tian sat upright on the throne, and the throne rode the divine light forward. The speed of its flight was more than 10 times faster than its own speed. But even so, it would take at least 6 to 7 days to rush back to the southern wilderness. In his mind, he couldn't help but think about his previous experiences. Especially that finger, it came too mysteriously. If such an enemy was hiding in the dark and suddenly pointed at him, no one would be able to withstand it. What was even more terrifying was that this kind of enemy was unknown. That was truly terrifying. He wanted to take revenge, but he couldn't even find the target. After thinking about it, if he really offended him, there were only 2 possibilities. One was that time in the Tongtian Tower, and the other was that time in the Thousand Beasts sect. The divine sealing tablet last time was said to be the famous treasure of Venerable Fengshan. Although it was made by imitating the ancient Star Emperor's stellar sealing tablet, he was also a venerable. I destroyed a wisp of his primordial spirit. Could it be that he found out? That's why it attracted a disaster. He kept thinking about all kinds of possibilities in his mind. Among them, he felt that the most likely was the legendary Venerable Fengshan. A venerable was too terrifying. Just the power of a finger could suppress him to the point that he couldn't even raise his head. After pondering to himself, his eyes flashed with an inexplicable light. Humph. This matter will be investigated sooner or later. If anyone offends me, how can I not return the favor 10-fold or 100-fold? Tian's eyes flashed with a dangerous light. He paused for a moment, turned his gaze, and said, "No, I must build the 1,000-demon city as soon as possible. Otherwise," he did not continue speaking, but the meaning behind his words was very obvious. No matter who it was, they would not want the situation to repeat itself. Being poked to death by a finger? There was no more humiliating way to die in this world. With Tian's temperament, how could he be willing to let such a thing happen again? Construct a city. No matter what, he had to build the 1,000-demon city well. He gritted his teeth and made up his mind. His eyes shone with a fierce light. Strength. In this world, everything is fake. Only strength is the foundation of everything. 4th Revolution Yaodan. Ancient Demon King. No, he was still too weak. He had to become strong. He had to become strong at all costs. Great Fae. Fae Saint, Heaven Fae. Step by step, I will climb to the highest peak. I will not allow anyone to kill me with just a finger. With Tian's cultivation time, he could reach the 4 transformation realm and become an ancient demon king. He could condense a territory, and his combat power was comparable to that of the immortals and Buddhas. However, he still could not change his cultivation level. He was far from being comparable to those old monsters who had cultivated for thousands or even tens of thousands of years. If that was the case, they would have to seek external help. 1,000-demon city. He placed all his hopes on the 1,000-demon city. With the 1,000-demon city built with divine crystals and the heaven and earth embryonic membrane merged with the ancient city, the 2 became one. When the time came, he would integrate the divine restriction in the god-trapping sphere into the ancient city. The stellar demon sealing tablet would draw on the power of the stars. With everything added together, even without the 4 heavenly gates and the cloud-gathering banner, he would be able to stand on the same level as the Venerables. He could not defeat them for the time being. Then he would first build an unparalleled demon city that would not be broken, to ensure his own safety. The numinous sky throne turned into a stream of light and shuttled through the void. While Tion was thinking, he was also seizing every moment to activate the Emperor's shocking world book. He channeled his true power into the 4 open demon meridians in his body that were unobstructed. It followed the small branches of the demon meridians to nourish his body. It allowed countless small meridians to extend into the flesh and blood of his body, forming a mysterious meridian diagram. At the same time, with every cycle, there would be a huge amount of desire power in the void surging into his body. It entered the rank 5 Black Lotus in the Demon Palace. Moreover, the Emperor True Power was also unwillingly beginning to attack the 5th Demon Meridian. This 5th Demon Meridian was the seeing of the 6 desires, which was also the eye. Everything had desires. In general, it was the 7 emotions and 6 desires, which encompassed all 13 desires. The 7 emotions: joy, anger, worry, longing, sorrow, fear, shock. The 6 desires: seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, touching, feeling. Of the 6 desires, the seeing was naturally related to the eye. Since it was a desire to peep. Curiosity was a desire, and curiosity led to the desire to peep. This was normal among thousands of creatures. In fact, the 6 desires were related to the various organs and feelings of a creature. This was the nature of a creature. It was normal, and there was nothing wrong with it. But if one was too stubborn, it would lead to bad desires. For the 7 emotions and 6 desires, Tion was really worried about the 7 emotions and not the 6 desires. Even if one was addicted to the 6 desires, it would not cause one's consciousness to sink completely and be beyond redemption. But the 7 emotions were extremely scary. Each of them was an emotion in a creature's body. It was much harder to resist than the 6 desires. I have already formed the Demon Meridian. The only thing I can do now is to increase my cultivation level as quickly as possible. The 7 emotions Demon Meridian cannot be touched easily. I have to open the 6 desires Demon Meridian first. If my deduction of the Book of the Emperor's Shocking World is correct, the 6 desires can give birth to all kinds of magical powers. Tion kept using his true power to attack the Demon Meridian. He attacked the pure, godly essence that filled the Demon Meridian. Every time he broke a little and refined the godly essence, his true power would increase by a lot. This was half of the godly essence in Chunxi's body. It had been accumulated for tens of thousands of years. If he refined the godly essence in each Demon Meridian, his cultivation level would increase by more than 1,000 years. The reason why he didn't need to attack the 4th Demon Meridian was that Chunxi had turned into an instant divine flower and entered the realm of desire to awaken Tion. The godly essence in that Demon Meridian had been slightly wasted. If possible, he would still choose to attack the Demon Meridian himself. During the process, he could nourish the Demon Meridian bit by bit and familiarize himself with the new desire power. He could also refine the godly essence and increase his cultivation level. It was killing 2 birds with 1 stone. In his mind, he was still deducing the Book of the Emperor's Shocking World. He used the godly eye to steal the sky and change the sun. In these years, he had memorized countless secret techniques. These techniques kept rolling in his mind. He extracted the essence of these techniques and combined them with the Book of the Emperor's Shocking World. Little by little, he perfected it. The Book of the Emperor's Shocking World had 13 levels, which meant 13 volumes. Starting from the first transformation of the Yao core, each transformation corresponded to a volume. Now that the Yao core had 4 transformations, he was cultivating the 4th volume. The key to the 4th volume was the domain. Once the domain was formed, all the levels would be unimpeded. Every Demon Meridian corresponded to a volume of techniques. For example, The fourth volume was specifically used to cultivate the fourth demon meridian. And the true essence of the Book of the Emperor's Shocking World was the secret technique to condense the acupoints in each volume. It must be noted that the main demonic meridian was divided into many subsidiary demonic meridians. The intersection between the subsidiary demonic meridian and the main demonic meridian was the aperture acupoint. Although the number of subsidiary demonic meridians branching off from the main demonic meridian was innumerable, the aperture acupoints weren't very important to the cultivator. But the more acupoints there were, the wider the meridians could extend in the body. However, these are the most normal acupoints. As for the opening of acupoints, D. Shurtion had recently deduced by combining many demon clan techniques and the secret technique he had obtained from the stealing the sky and changing the sun. With the tenacity of the demon meridian, 9 acupoints could be opened in each of them. 13 demon meridian in the body was enough to open 117 acupoints. D. Shurtion called it the Emperor's true acupoints. 9 was the extreme number. It was already the limit to open 9 acupoints on each demon meridian. For example, the demon meridian formed by other techniques could be formed with 6 or 7 acupoints, which was already a top technique. While he was thinking, time flew by. In the blink of an eye, he had been traveling in the void on the soaring sky, throne for 7 days. After crossing countless mountains and rivers, he finally returned to the southern barbarian. D. Shurtion's return naturally caused a huge sensation in the southern barbarian. Almost everywhere he went, there were pairs of blazing eyes staring at him. The news of destroying a first-class sect in the immortal cultivation world had long been spread to the southern barbarian. This kind of thing, which had almost never been done by a demon clan, spread. It immediately made the demons in the southern barbarian become fanatical. From the demons, there was a trace of faith power converging towards D. Shurtion. When he met with Chun Shi, he naturally told him a brief overview of what happened in the Thousand Beasts sect, and then placed the White Tiger's mother in the Jade Pool. Husband, you mean the Thousand Beasts sect used a vicious secret method to make Mother lose her mind, and all her mind is full of killing. What a vicious method. After listening to D. Shurtion's story, and seeing the White Tiger's sleeping appearance of the moment, a layer of frost appeared on Chun Shi's flawless face. A 7-colored halo flowed in his eyes, and a fierce look flashed. Since she really gave herself to D. Shurtion, she had been thinking for him wholeheartedly. She regarded D. Shurtion's family as her own. Xiao Bai was like this, and for the White Tiger, she regarded it as her mother. Seeing that situation, how could she not be angry in her heart? She or the Thousand Beasts sect definitely can't escape this debt. D. Shurtion's face surged with killing intent, but he still took a deep breath and temporarily suppressed this killing intent. He said, "However, that day I was poked into the ground by that inexplicable finger that appeared out of nowhere and by chance." He reached out and hugged Chun Shi in his arms and slowly told him what happened in the Fallen God Abyss. To be continued. If you want to know what happened next, please go to www.chijian.com. Support the author. Support the original reading. Chapter 496. God Perishing Abyss, Treasure Basin and Money Tree. After hearing this, Chun Shi's delicate body, which was nestled in D. Shurtion's arms, trembled slightly. She said in surprise, God Perishing Abyss is one of the 9 forbidden places. Even the most powerful people don't dare to covet the rare treasures inside. I didn't expect that the human clan would make such a big move this time. They use the innate yin-yang dust formation to seal the entrance of the abyss. They want to use the power of the treasure basin to seize the treasures that flock to them. Chun Shi inherited the knowledge of the Heavenly Lady of 100 Flowers, so she knew far more than D. Shurtion. Just by listening, she already understood the purpose of the immortal cultivation world these years. She frowned slightly and said, "Husband, what are you going to do? If the immortal cultivation world gets that amazing wealth. In a short time, countless powerful people will emerge from the human clan. Their strength will multiply, which will certainly be a considerable threat to the development of our southern barbarian lands. What's more, our demon city has not been built yet. Danger, absolute danger. With the nature of the human clan, once they found something that could threaten their status, the most direct way was to obliterate it, let alone the demon clan. In the past, they stepped on the heads of the demon clan to climb to the position of the protagonist of today's world. The hatred between the two clans could not be washed away, even with all the water in the three rivers. Once the human clan's strength increased greatly, it was almost foreseeable that they would immediately target the rising demon clan. At that time, blood would flow like rivers, which was almost a foreseeable thing. The encirclement and suppression of the demon clan in the immortal cultivation world was bound to happen again. The consequences of the wealth being seized by the human clan were too serious. Tion had experienced a lifetime as a human, so he knew the temperament of a human clan the best. Naturally, he would not let it go. A meaningful look appeared at the corner of his mouth. What should we do? God-perishing abyss is one of the 9 forbidden places in the source world. Since it doesn't belong to any person or force, as long as they have the ability, they're qualified to have a share of it. Why should the human clan's major sects occupy it? Keep it a secret? Didn't they mean to keep it a secret and only let the cultivators in the immortal cultivation world know about it? They want to divide up the secret of the enormous treasure. I don't want to draw attention to myself. If it's just us demon clans joining in, we'll most likely become a thorn in the flesh in the eyes of those cultivators. They'll definitely spare some time to attack us first. Based on the countless years of accumulation in the purple gold mainland, there must be immortal-level powerhouses in every sect. Perhaps even the immortals and Buddhas from the heaven realm would enter the purple gold mainland. With that kind of strength, if we really become a target, we won't be able to get away with it. There's only one way. Let's muddy the waters. Tion's eyes flashed with wisdom. Indeed, at this moment, the major sects of a human tribe, together with the experts in the heaven realm, had planned for countless years and used countless treasures to set up the innate yin and yang dust formation to stabilize the God's Fall abyss. It was all for the scarlet treasure tide that occurred once every 3,000 years. At this moment, how could they just watch others eat the soup in front of them? If they wanted to gain benefits from it, they couldn't act rashly. The only way was to muddy the waters and fish in the muddy waters. That was the highest level of making a fortune in silence. Whether or not they could forge the 1,000 Demon City as soon as possible depended on whether they could catch a big fish this time. After telling Chen-Shi what he thought, Chen-Shi couldn't help but smile slightly. He nodded from time to time. He interjected a few words, looking like a good wife. After a long time, after the discussion, Tion's hand appeared on Chen-Shi's flat lower abdomen and gently stroked it. He leaned his head close to the crystal-like earrings and whispered, "Sheer, it's late. Let's rest." Chen-Shi's snow-white neck was instantly flushed with an alluring pink. She called out and was incomparably bashful. She buried her head in Sakura's chest and didn't raise her head. But she didn't refuse. When Tion saw this, his heart was burning. He didn't know why, but although it wasn't the first time they did this, Chen-Shi always seemed quite shy about this matter. However, when such an expression fell into his eyes, the fire in his heart was ignited. He wasn't some abstinent monk. He naturally wanted to taste this kind of thing between husband and wife. The dual cultivation between a man and a woman was a natural law. Although he didn't think much when he created the Emperor shocking the world, later on, when he had Chen-Shi, he immediately asked Ming to teach him the dual cultivation method of the Heaven and Earth Yin-Yang Great Compassion poem and fused it with his own cultivation method. When they dual cultivated, not only could it increase their true power, but it could also refine the impurities in their bodies. It was extremely magical. He smiled faintly. He gently picked up the perfect body in his arms and walked into the bedroom in the jade pool. On the second day, Shuda was summoned to the Lingxiao King Hall. After a series of instructions, The information network that was spread out was completely activated. Information after information seemed to be unintentionally released. Rumors. A wave of rumors suddenly swept through the entire immortal cultivator world. Moreover, this wave of rumors, almost as soon as it started, could not be stopped. The content of the rumors almost made countless immortal cultivators completely crazy. At an incredible speed, in just 2 days, it quickly spread across the entire continent. No matter where you went, almost everyone was crazily spreading the contents of the rumors. As for where this rumor came from, almost no one cared. Chaos. If there was a word to describe the immortal cultivator world at this moment, it could only be summarized as chaos. It could even be said that it was crazy. What kind of place is the fallen god abyss? The 9 Forbidden Lands, have you heard of it? If not, you must have heard of the Tower of Babel, right? The Tower of Babel is one of the 9 Forbidden Lands. Do you know what is in the fallen god abyss? There are treasure basins and money trees there. Quick, quick, quick. Hurry up and inform the family. The 10,000 treasure red tide is coming. The fallen god abyss has been fixed. Those tribulation stage powerhouses want to eat all of it. They will take all the treasures away in one go. Hurry up and gather the masters and get ready to go to the fallen god abyss. If we are late, we might not even be able to drink the soup. My goodness, the 10,000 treasure red tide? There are as many treasures as the tide in the sea. Even people will be smashed to death. Smash my head. I am willing to be smashed to death by the treasures. Treasure basins, money trees. If you can get one, you won't have to worry about it for 10,000 years. Fallen god abyss, I am coming. Let's see if I don't bite off a piece of the money tree skin. Don't think that masters can monopolize the good things. The fallen god abyss doesn't belong to them. Everyone is qualified to go. The 10,000 treasure red tide belongs to whoever gets it. If I can get one, TSK, I will be a master in the future. I will also be a powerhouse. Crazy. The entire immortal cultivator world had gone crazy, especially those at the bottom of the immortal cultivator world. Some small sect were shocked by the sudden news and went crazy. This was originally a big secret kept in some big sections. It was something that had been planned for many years. When it was revealed, it was immediately like poking a hornet's nest. It caused an unimaginable tsunami. The immortal cultivator world was the most difficult place to keep a secret. It would have been fine if it hadn't been spread. But once the news spread, the 9 Forbidden Lands and the fallen god abyss were all dug up, especially the fallen god abyss. The treasure basins and money trees inside immediately made countless cultivators go crazy. When they heard about the arrival of the 10,000 treasure craze, the endless treasures and the wave-like scene, who didn't yearn for it so much that they even drooled. At this time, not to mention tribulation stage powerhouses, even immortals couldn't restrain the desire in the hearts of countless cultivators. What did it mean? It meant that as long as one was lucky in the 10,000 treasure red tide, they would have a chance to get a rare treasure. At that time, it would be like a carp leaping over the dragon's gate. Even the big sects couldn't suppress such a thing. Countless people were rubbing their hands and preparing to go to the fallen god abyss. Although Tion didn't know where the specific entrance to the fallen god abyss was, he didn't need to know at all. As long as the news spread, countless people would immediately search for it. Sure enough, in less than 9 days, some cultivators found some clues. After searching, they finally found out that the entrance wasn't on land, but on the sea. It was on an island in the East Sea. The island was the size of a small continent, but it didn't have a name. Such an island was too common on the purple gold continent. However, some busybodies gave the island name Scarlet Tide Island. Countless cultivators flocked there. The puddle of water in the Godfall Abyss had been thoroughly stirred up. Tion sat upright in the southern barbarian lands. All kinds of news gathered in a steady stream from all directions. With the information network set up by Big Rat, all kinds of movements in the immortal cultivator world were gathered, organized, and sent to him. All the movements at this moment fell into his eyes without missing anything. If you want to know the future, please go to www.chidian.com. There are more chapters. Support the author. Support the original reading. Chapter 497. The Immortal Brew Pavilion opened the way with spirit wines. Monkey wine, dark ice jade fire wine, 1,000 days drunk immortal wine, returning essence wine, 1,000 fruits and herbs wine, and the pavilion spirit wine, heart-cleansing Bodhi wine. With these spirit wines placed in the pavilion, and with a demon clan member who is equivalent to a nascent soul cultivator in the immortal cultivation world, it naturally gained a firm foothold in the immortal cultivation world. One must know that in this world, spirit wine was a rare treasure. If one wanted to brew it without a unique wine recipe, it was almost impossible to brew it. A large sect might have some people who knew how to brew it, but the various spirit herbs were hard to find. Secondly, there were many details to pay attention to during the brewing process, especially the wine recipe. This made spirit wine the rarest treasure in the world. Moreover, most of the spirit wines in the immortal cultivation world were actually brewed with spirit grains. Although the wine had spirit energy, it lacked the most precious special ability of spirit wine. It couldn't even enter the standard grade. At most, it could only nourish the true essence. Real spirit wine had all kinds of magical and special abilities. For example, the monkey wine could increase one's cultivation. The dark ice jade fire wine could temper the body, and the 1,000 days drunk immortal wine could let one enjoy the intoxicating feeling of floating like an immortal. In terms of enjoyment, it was second to none. Returning essence wine could restore the true essence that had been consumed, and 1,000 fruits and herbs wine could nourish the meridians and promote cultivation. Heart-cleansing Bodhi wine could even eliminate inner demons. Which one wasn't incomparably magical? Since the opening of the Immortal Brew Pavilion, it naturally caused quite a stir in the immortal cultivation world. However, the Immortal Brew Pavilion spread to the entire immortal cultivation world almost overnight. Just this point alone made countless people who wanted to scheme against it withdraw their hands. Especially the pavilion master of each Immortal Brew Pavilion, who had the Tao of a nascent soul cultivator. 1 or 2 shops might be fine, but to open up 1,000,000 shops in the immortal cultivation world, covering most of the areas, and all of them regarded by nascent soul cultivators, then how big was the power behind the Immortal Brew Pavilion? That was 1,000,000 nascent soul cultivators. Furthermore, he was only the pavilion master. How powerful would the force behind the scenes be? This kind of invisible deterrence made many forces with ulterior motives shrink back in fear. They didn't dare to take half a step forward. In addition to the abundant supply of spirit wine, it made the immortal cultivation world accept the existence of the Immortal Brew Pavilion. No matter who it was, they had to give face to the Immortal Brew Pavilion and the mirage illusory jade, covering chi. Even immortals wouldn't be able to detect the slightest abnormality. No one's line race demon clan. In this way, all kinds of information would naturally be collected like a tide. Underground, using the rat clan's innate ability to drill, they opened up secret underground transmission tunnels. Underground, the Mouse clan was the fastest rat clan, imprinting all kinds of information into the Jade Talisman and transmitting it from underground. It was practically undetectable. Spirit wine was concealment. Almost every day, there would be a huge amount of information coming from all directions to the intelligence department of Rat University. Books, records, and books. Records. What was presented in front of Sakura was the most important and concise information that had been sorted out. Good. These days, Sakura and Chun, she had been dual cultivating whenever they had time. Their faces were refreshed, and a trace of invisible majestic aura leaked out from between their brows. They sat neatly on the numinous sky palace, holding a jade scroll in their hands. Reading the contents of the scroll, they praised Scarlet Tide Island. I didn't expect that the entrance would be on the East Sea. If I didn't stir up this pool of clear water, I don't know how long it would take me to find it out. This water is muddy. It's easy to fish in muddy water. Shurtian's eyes flashed with wisdom. He had wisdom, and he was much smarter than ordinary people. However, since he came to this world, he had a deep understanding that having wisdom was a good thing. But with wisdom, even if you were a genius, what could you do? Wisdom without strength was just stupidity. It was like an armchair strategist, a clown's trick. It was a joke. Therefore, even if he had thousands of schemes in his heart, Shurtian would not implement them. He would rather use his hands and saber to cut down the obstacles in front of him. Even if he used them, he would only use some small tricks to protect himself. Wisdom needed to be supported by absolute strength. Today, he dared to use his means to throw the entire world into chaos. He disrupted the plan that the upper echelons of the world of immortal cultivators had set up for thousands of years. He included the entire world of immortal cultivators and even the myriad worlds in his calculations. He even played them in the palm of his hand. What did he rely on? He relied on the strength he had gained today. Behind him, there were millions of demons who had condensed their inner cores and tens of millions of demons supporting him. The existence of the demon city had strength comparable to an immortal. This strength gave him enough capital to use all kinds of tricks to plan the overall situation, to gain benefits for himself. Thinking about it, if he didn't have these as a backing, even if the rumors were released today, it would just be an idiotic move that harmed others without benefiting himself. Now it was different. Now he was the one playing chess. He had the ability to get the benefits he wanted in this game of chess. This was the importance of strength. Closing the jade book, Shurtian looked up at the kneeling Rat Big and ordered in a deep voice, "Rat Deputy Demon Envoy, immediately send someone to bring this king's jade talisman to the area where the 8 demon kings are and personally hand the jade talisman to them. At the same time, open the valley door and prepare to welcome the other brothers of the demon clan." "Yes, King." Rat Big took the jade talisman and 8 invitations from the Green Phoenix sword attendant and respectfully agreed. Those were the invitations that Shurtian invited the 8 demon kings to come to the southern wilderness. The cake in the fallen god abyss was so big that even Shurtian felt that he couldn't eat it alone. It was better to sell a favor and strengthen the entire demon clan. The benefits in the future would be unimaginable. He could also use this gathering to establish his position in the demon clan in one fell swoop. He also wanted to use this opportunity to make the myriad demon valley a holy land that everyone in the demon clan yearned for. He also wanted to spread the demon coins that he made to the entire demon clan. Establish his position. Who? Subordinate is here. In the Lingxiao Palace, most of Shurtian's capable subordinates were almost all present. They were lined up on both sides in order. At this moment, hearing the call, Hu immediately stood up. "You are in charge of the affairs in the valley. The matter of the demon city can't be too publicized for the time being. Once the demons arrive, you are responsible for receiving them. All kinds of facilities and buildings in the valley were completed in the shortest time. Open the Rare Treasure Pavilion, Immortal Brew Pavilion, and the Hidden Scriptures Pavilion. Categorize the magic tools, magic weapons, and cultivation methods seized from the Thousand Beast sect and put them all into the 3 pavilions. Open the exchange of demon coins and demon cards. This time, this king wants to promote the demon coins to the entire demon clan. There can't be any mistakes." Shurtian said with a dignified expression, who was the wise man in the Fox clan. He was an old fox who had lived for thousands of years. His wisdom could be said to be at the peak of perfection. Now, he had already set his position and wholeheartedly assisted Shurtian. He was even more devoted to the construction of the demon city. In him, who saw the prosperity of the Fox clan and the hope of the rise of the demon clan. "Yes, King," Who promised. "All kinds of buildings in the valley have been completed. All of them are made of divine crystals, plus other precious materials. The wealth obtained from the Thousand Beasts sect has been completed. In the future, if we move out of the southern wilderness, we can relocate them to the demon city. All kinds of treasures have also been placed in them. The reserve of demon coins is sufficient. It is enough to deal with any situation. In his mouth, there was a clear and orderly way. Before the construction, he had already envisioned the future. With this vision, he was already qualified to be in charge of the construction of the myriad demon valley and the demon city. I'm good. After listening, Tion nodded his head in approval. Then, he looked at Bayou and said, Bayou, once the demons arrive, there will definitely be chaos. At that time, your demon supervisor guard will come in handy. Yes, Bayou spoke very little, but every word was as steady and firm as a mountain. In his eyes, there was a sharp light flickering. At this moment, with the help of the Linglong treasure pagoda, his cultivation had stepped into the second transformation of the demon core, and he had become an 8th-grade demon general. Then, he gave some instructions. It lasted for 2 hours before the court was dismissed. Hu and the others began to arrange their own tasks. Whether it was in the Linglong treasure pagoda or the myriad demon valley, they all began to operate at high speed. Rat Big sent his subordinates to send the invitations underground to the areas of the 8 demon kings. This kind of transmission speed was very fast. It only took a day to reach the destination. Not to mention that Tion was trying his best to stir up the water in front of him, causing the entire immortal cultivation world to be in turmoil. Even the heaven realm above was alarmed. Perhaps even the demon realm, which had not appeared in the world for countless years, was alarmed. In short, at this moment, there were no secrets about the God's Fall Abyss. The arrival of the 10,000 treasures Crimson Tide completely ignited the desire in everyone's heart. In a restaurant in a mortal cultivation city, 3 cultivators sat in a private room. The table in front of them was full of wine and dishes. The wine was the monkey wine bought from the Immortal Wine Pavilion. Behind them, there were 2 young men standing. If Tion was here at this moment, he would find that all the people here were acquaintances. The 3 people sitting were Shengong Hu, Qing Yuan, and Lan Yu, who had the reputation of the 3 pests in the heaven realm. These 3 scourges were feared by everyone. Behind them, weren't they Shui Wuhin and Wu Wudi, who had a little friendship with Tion in the past? Of the 2 of them, one stood behind Lan Yu, and the other stood behind Qing Yuan. There was a hint of respect in his expression. At this moment, even the previous laughter on the faces of the 3 of them had disappeared. Their expressions were slightly dignified. Good fellow, those old farts above must know about the God's Fall Abyss, and most likely participated in it. In the past, I only calculated the heavenly secret, and the heavenly secret only showed an inexplicable prediction of return to the origin. I think I may have guessed what that means. Shengonghu's mouth pulled a meaningful smile. If you want to know what happened next, please go to www.chidian.com. There are more chapters. Support the author. Support the original reading. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.